It's the wake-up call with KB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
RPO backing to throw is Richardson. Loading up, taking a shot. Wide open is Josh Downs. He's got it down the far sideline. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Walk-in touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Under center, Stroud. Outside zone. Big gaping hole for Mixon. He's at the 10. Breaks out to the left side. Inside the 5. Looking for the end zone, and he makes it. That's a 14-yard run by Joe Mixon, and there was some strength behind his pads on that one. And Mixon into the end zone. Richardson backs to throw. Here comes the blitz off the right edge, and they get him. It's a sack for Will Anderson. He's their team leader in that department. He now has 7.5 sacks on the season. Anthony Richardson looking over the defense. Takes a shotgun snap. Plants. Looks to his right. Fires upfield. Picked off. This is Jalen Petrie. Petrie at the 10. Angling to the right. And he is stopped before he can get to the 5-yard line by a couple of offensive linemen.
Now that was ridiculous.
That's a cardinal sin.
I said go in tied up 10-10. That was silly. That was a silly call and a silly throw.
Stroud backs to throw, planting, stepping up in the pocket, throws into the end zone. That's a catch to get 2 feet in. They call it a touchdown on the field, and it's Tank Dell, a back-breaking turn of events. Richardson out of the gun, play action. Turns his way to the right side, gets out of a sack. Now he's running upfield. He's to the 25, and he's going to be chopped down outside. The number's right, down around the 24-yard line. Man, oh man, that was an eventful play just to get back near the line of scrimmage and avoid yet another sack.
I'll tell you one thing.
Hold on just a second, Rick. I beg your pardon, because we have a change at quarterback. Joe Flacco is in at quarterback now. Anthony Richardson is out.
Needed a second to potentially catch his breath.
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, just told Sam I just needed a break right there.
He needed a breather. He ran 3 times in a row, and it was 3rd and long, and so we're gonna hand the ball off.
Richardson backs to throw. Only a 2-man rush by the Texans. Richardson floats left, and he's gonna be hit, and he's gonna be dropped, and he just throws the ball backwards. It's a loose ball inside the 30, and that's how the game's going to end. The Colts don't even get a pass on.
Yeah, we keep working through the process. It's a process. We keep grinding through it. We do it together. It's a team game. We grind through those things, and we get it figured out.
Checking himself out of the game. One of the more confusing, what I thought was just kind of an odd game on Sunday. At times the Colts didn't play too bad, I didn't think. But it is clear that right now this offense is broken. Shane Steichen's play calling is broken. Anthony Richardson is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. And when he does make really good plays, and he had a couple on the table yesterday. His skill position guys absolutely dropped the ball. Tyler Goodson, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman not looking for the ball. So a complete disaster there. And then on top of it, it's one of those games. I know we'll get into it as we go, but when we look back at a long season for our Pacers, KB, that's the kind of game you do not lose to a team that is beat up in Philadelphia, a team that was winless coming into your stadium yesterday. So it was a bloody Sunday. Thank God we have Kirk Cignetti. Thank God for Kirk Cignetti. That's who we got.
Well, can we give a shout to Marcus Freeman, maybe? An impressive effort over the name.
You always laugh. What's the offensive lineman? Denbrook. What's his first name?
Offensive coordinator Mike Denbrook.
Yeah, Mike Denbrook. That's my guy. So, no, your Notre Dame Fighting Irish got the win. Looked like a fantastic time there in Bloomington. But yesterday, between the Colts, whatever the hell they were doing at the end of the first half, and the Pacers, it was a bloody Sunday.
D'Angelo Pons, Justice Ellison, just outstanding for the Hoosiers on Saturday. That scene at 9 a.m. Just frankly unlike anything I've seen.
It's awesome.
I cannot believe that IU bleeping football produces that environment. Not only that, but once again, 8-0 in the season, the first bit of adversity maybe thrown their way this year, and they handle it off to Michigan State coming up on Saturday. Yeah, it is such a mystery what Shane Steichen was thinking there at the end of the first half. That 3rd and 3 sequence will be one that I circled throughout the game. And the entire passing operation, led by Anthony Richardson, really is just an abomination in trying to have any sort of consistent success right now. I thought it was your worst protection game of the year yesterday, and I thought it was very reminiscent to the Green Bay game of I find myself asking, why are the Colts wideouts so much more covered than the Texans wideouts? Like, you had that opening drive where E.J. Speed gets his hand on a ball, and Jalen Jones got his hand on a pass, and that was the last time a Colts player touched a C.J. Stroud pass the entire day. 31 straight passes without one being touched. And yet, I'm watching Anthony Richardson throw into contested window after contested window after contested window. He's sacked 5 times. That is easily a big, high number for him. And when there are opportunities to make plays in the passing game, he doesn't make it. I thought his situational awareness was really weak yesterday. Again, I fault Shane Steichen mostly for the end of the first half, but I also come back to the old Peyton Manning adage of when you recognize a bad play is about to happen, don't make it worse. And he made it worse. They are right before half. It might seem like a little thing, but why wasn't he getting out of bounds on the scramble there on the final drive of the game?
Well, no, it's more than a little thing. It's a field goal. It's a chance at a field goal.
That is a great first play on the final drive. I mean, he gets a 22, 25, whatever the number was, yard scramble. If you get out of bounds there, A, you catch your breath, which I don't say tongue-in-cheek after watching the events of yesterday, and you obviously stop the clock. So I thought his situational awareness was really, really lacking. And it was a shame that you wasted Jonathan Taylor and DeForest Buckner. Both of them outstanding in the returns on little pitch counts as well. And again, it is another monumental AFC South game. I said it to you on Friday. It's the reason why I picked the Texans and not the Colts. Can you beat a quality quarterback? And that was the opportunity. You were healthy, very healthy on offense. First time Richardson's had Taylor and Pittman and Pierce and Downs, all those guys available to him for the whole game. And defensively, Houston is missing their top 2 linebackers. Nico Collins is out. Steph Diggs exits during the game. And yet, you still can't get it done. So I just think beyond frustrated on many, many fronts from the opportunity that you had. And really, I thought you gifted them that halftime lead.
1,000%.
That set up Houston to be in. Really, I thought they were in comfortable control throughout the second half. Even though maybe the scoreboard didn't indicate that, I just figured, Joe Mixon will keep on milking the clock and Stroud will make enough big throws, and I don't trust Anthony Richardson when the game's on the line.
Yeah, yesterday was disappointing, and I know while it's a 3-point game and every game the Colts play is a one-possession game, KB, I sit here this morning, it doesn't feel like that to me. With what we saw yesterday, it feels like there's something wrong. It feels like they are on the cusp with Anthony Richardson in this passing game of having to make some sort of decision. And maybe the decision is going to be, we're going to ride this out, and if he plays bad football, we're just going to ride it out. And that's fine. But boy, I tell you what, the other guys on that team, you can make the case that there are other parts of this roster that could be absolutely a playoff team. Look at what happened yesterday. Look what happened Sunday. in the AFC. It reverberates even more how big of a game that was yesterday. And this is now 2 games in a row where Shane Steichen has not been very good. I mean, he admitted it 2 weeks. He admitted it 2 weeks ago, whether that is true or not. He fell on the sword for his quarterback and for his offense. And then yesterday, I don't know what he was thinking at the end of the first half. I mean, you have a quarterback who cannot literally complete a pass at this point. I mean, Anthony Richardson was shot at the end of the first half. He nearly throws an interception, and you come back and you throw again when, listen, you run the ball there, you get a first down, maybe get a splash play, maybe you run, I don't know, maybe it's a novel concept to Shane Steichen. All I heard about is how Anthony Richardson, dual threat quarterback, are they afraid to run him? They didn't run him there. They could have done like a screen pass. You set up something to either punt the football back and play defense and to get into halftime, or you pop something there, and then you're able to use the rest of the clock. But I'm worried about Shane Steichen. I'm worried about his play calling, and I know we have 3 hours today. KB, I sit here. I don't know what the right thing, the wrong thing. I don't know what you do with Anthony Richardson. There is no part. You watch NFL games yesterday. He is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. And then when he does make some plays, and again, like I said a couple minutes ago, he made some plays, what happens? Alec Pierce is dropping passes. Michael Pittman Jr., I know he's injured. He's not looking for passes. Tyler Goodson, yet again, against Houston, drops another big play. It would have been a touchdown. So, it's definitely not all on Anthony Richardson. Protection wasn't great. Wide receivers and tight ends are non-existent in this offense. Aren't helping you whatsoever. And the play calling has been dismal from this head coach. And to me, it's a 3-point loss. You got a lot of help yesterday in the AFC, but for some reason, KB, it just feels like more than that coming from yesterday, and I don't know why.
It should, because at the start of the year, Andy, I said to you, for the Colts to make the playoffs, one of these 2 streaks has to end. The season opening streak with Houston or the streak in Jacksonville. Well, both of those are still alive, sadly, and you get swept by the best team in your division. When, again, you walked into that game in a much better bill of health than where Houston was at. Houston was the worst passing offense in the league with Nico Collins out of the lineup these last 2 weeks, and they throw for 285 on you. And Joe Mixon is over 100 yards. Once again. And I just thought, if you're going to lay blame and lay fault, and again, I'm 12 minutes into the show, so there's a reason why I've waited this long, I still thought it was a very mixed bag from your defense. I thought they were thrown in some poor situations and handled those quite well, but then at the same time, I'm like, again, this is the worst passing offense in the NFL without Nico Collins. You give up 285. Mixon's over 100. I thought too many 2nd and 19s turned into conversions by Houston, and that can ultimately make the difference in that game. So even on that side of the ball, I don't think I can just sit here and give an A on this Monday morning. So a big loss for the Colts there, 4-4 now on the season. It is at Minnesota, Sunday Night Football coming up in 6 days. Tonight, the Pacers will be in Orlando, as it is a back-to-back. For those that watched the end of that game, Philadelphia tried to give Indiana moments to either A, win that game, or even extend it into a double overtime. The Pacers handed that right back to them with missed free throws there by Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton. We talked about the schedule being difficult early on. At Orlando tonight, home to Boston on Wednesday. Games with Paul George and Joel Embiid in street clothes at home cannot fall into the loss category, and that doesn't even acknowledge what happened Friday night at Madison Square Garden, which was really one of the more pathetic efforts I've seen from the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton specifically in quite some time.
Yeah, I was worried about the start of the season. I was hoping I was going to be wrong, and I thought yesterday, even at the end, Halliburton at the end of the fourth quarter hits that shot. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to get this to overtime. It's going to be ugly, but they're going to be 2-1, right? We're going to walk in here and say they're not playing good basketball. And Carlisle's right.
Above water.
If he comes on here tomorrow, it's the same thing. Nearly half their points are offensive rebounds and turnovers. And at the later parts of the game, you have Halliburton turning the ball over. You have Nembhard turning the ball over. Of course, 2 of your better players missing free throws down the stretch, which we can discuss as well. So the Pacers are gross. And then yesterday, it's been a while, KB. I know you've lived these in your professional career. It's always good when you can get not a Friday afternoon news dump, but how about the Indiana Fever an hour before the Colts went out there with a little news dump on firing Christy Sides? That's the way you do it right there. That's PR 101, guys, right there.
When we had Scott Agnes on last Thursday,
you asked him.
I told him I got in the WNBA rabbit hole on Twitter, which it can lead you down a lot of paths. Let me warn you, if you haven't been down it just yet. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, Stephanie White? And would you have to trade for her? Is she under contract with Connecticut?
I have no idea. You're the one that went down the rabbit hole. You tell me.
Do I have the college football analogy right? You're the middling Big Ten program. You get to the Motor City Bowl and the Music City Bowl on an annual basis, and now you're trying to get to the New Year's Day Bowl?
Right.
Is that a decent analogy here with firing Christy
I think that's probably a fair analogy. Yeah. Who was Michael Jordan's early coach? Oh, goodness, Doug Collins. Did Christy Sides get Doug Collins? Is that what happened? Is that too old of a reference?
I was trying to think of, is there like a Cowboys reference that could resonate a little bit more? Christy Sides on Twitter yesterday? Leave it better than you found it.
Yeah, I mean, she can't say anything
she
right
ain't
now.
Wrong.
Yeah, she's right. She's right. It's one of those things where she probably got the short end of the stick on this one. But if they go out there and win more games next year, people are going to consider them a better coach team, and nobody's going to care.
They're bringing that Iowa coach out of retirement.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Muffet McGraw. There we go.
We get Kim Mulkey here on the sidelines. Get
her in studio. Her and Lynn Dunn would be a good tandem to interview in studio. So I figured I would bring that up just because it's perfectly executed.
I got one more before we hit a break. Is this correct here? Now your Giants are playing. Right?
Yes.
Now that is a road game for them.
It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a road game. It's a toilet bowl, quite frankly.
Them and the Jets have played quite a few games at MetLife Stadium this year. Is that correct?
They have.
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish have played one game at MetLife Stadium.
They're 1-0.
And they have scored more touchdowns than the Giants and Jets have scored all year.
Maybe they should draft Riley Leonard
in that stadium.
Look at you. You're so worried about that game. Now look at you. You're cocky. I like it.
Navy just handled
Boy, they were bad.
Turnover after turnover. It was so sad to watch. I felt bad for them.
Don't complain.
No.
Win.
I will
Texas A&M won. Notre Dame should feel good. They wake up today. They're in the college football playoff.
Notre Dame, Indiana playoff matchup. Get ready.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. All right, let's take a break. Coming up on the other side, obviously, it was a bloody Sunday from the Colts, and then obviously what happened to the Pacers. It was good, though, in Bloomington on Saturday. We'll let you hear all
your scores and news as well from overnight. Your morning check down is coming up next. Appreciate you waking up with us. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
So good.
Yeah, one of the busier weekends we've had in quite a while from a sports standpoint. Andy Sweeney, go ahead and lead us off.
Yeah, it's a bloody Sunday. Let's start with the Colts. 23-20, they go to Houston. I thought they were going to win. I picked them to win. They did not. 23-20, your final there. Shane Steichen post-game, unhappy with his offense.
Disappointed, really more than anything. We had, those P&10s, didn't really get anything going. Third down wasn't great. We were stalling there a lot. I think we had 3 3-and-outs in a row. I got to be better for the guys. And in the second half, we finally started to get some things going. But, we had 2 turnovers there. Didn't win the turnover battle. It was disappointing.
All right, so there's Shane Steichen. Obviously, the offense was disgusting most of the game. Now, the other part of the game, Anthony Richardson taking himself out of the game on a 3rd and long, okay? That's been a conversation. I'm interested, KB, exactly what your thoughts. It's not something I had ever seen. In this quote, not going to make Colts fans happy after the game.
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play, so I just just told saying I just needed a break right there.
Plenty more on that. And again, the decision there late in the half to, attempt to go for points that I thought was extremely costly. We'll do that here upcoming in a few. Speaking of disgusting, I would say the Pacers weekend would fall into that category. Ugly in Madison Square Garden with a scoreless night for Tyrese Halliburton on Friday. They then return home yesterday for their home opener. No Paul George, no Joel Embiid, and yet cannot get it done. Tyrese Maxey was at 45. Was that the final total?
Yeah.
For him in that one. Again, for those that did not watch this, Tyrese Halliburton has like a double pump 3 to send the game into overtime. And I'm thinking at that point, okay, you're now going to get over the hump. But in overtime, you get outplayed. Philadelphia then tries to hand you the chance to go to double overtime when Caleb Martin thinks that they're up 3, and that they should foul to send Halliburton to the line. They were only up 2, yet Halliburton misses the first free throw. This was after Miles Turner had missed a free throw to tie it a couple possessions earlier. The Pacers lose an OT to a banged-up Philadelphia 76ers team. That is a 1-2 start on the season. For what it's worth, individually, Halliburton was better shooting it yesterday, but still nowhere near the normal Halliburton that we are used to. In Orlando tonight, home to Boston on Wednesday. Some early season questions, certainly, for Rick Carlisle and company.
Yeah, not good there. By the way, shout out to your boy Eric Gordon. Played 32 minutes the other. Played 32 minutes.
He was turning back the clock.
Night. I'm thinking
he drove by Jarris Walker, and I thought it looked like him driving by some kid from Carmel.
It's unbelievable. I'm watching it. That roster they put out there, besides Maxey, not great, but they got the win. College football over the weekend. It was good on this side at least. IU 31-17 over Washington. Game day looked absolutely fantastic. Notre Dame crushing Navy. What was the final there? I wrote down the score. I know that's wrong.
51-14, I think.
Man, that game wasn't close for the majority of the time, and you were worried about it. You're worried about the double-digit spread.
Yes, I was.
Very
happy
all week.
with that
Look at
result. How about D'Angelo Pons? How about Justice Ellison for the Hoosiers? First time 8-0 since 1967. I saw the stat from ESPN. I guess their database only goes back 20 years. They're the first college football team to start 8-0 without trailing in the last 2 decades.
Wow.
And again, that's just because their database doesn't go back any further.
Fair point. That's going to be a good pop quiz question at some point down the line for somebody.
So very impressive on Saturday, again, with a backup quarterback there. A little bit of adversity, I thought, late first half, not getting in there, 17-14 at one point. But then they pull away at Michigan State. That's a peacocker coming up 3:30 on Saturday. And Purdue did not lose this weekend, so big for them on the gridiron. We'll have Game 3 of the World Series tonight.
Do we'll
see about the health of Shohei Ohtani in that one.
He's playing, they've said.
Freddie Freeman's heroics, pretty cool to watch that in that moment there in the 10th inning back on Friday night. And we mentioned this in the opening segment, the news dump of all news dumps, the Indiana Fever firing Christy Sides, announced at 11 a.m. yesterday?
11:30, about an hour and change ahead of the Colts getting out there and playing on
Lynn
Sunday.
Dunn and Kelly Crosscall, let's go into church and pray about it, then we'll send the press release when we come out
that
of
was
church
well done.
there. So Again, if you're reading tea leaves, there are some rumors about Stephanie White in the Connecticut Sun. Kelly Krauskopf did hire her back to be the Fever head coach about a decade ago. Those two appear to be very close. We will see how all of that plays out. That is now 6 of the 12 WNBA teams having fired their coach this offseason.
It's unbelievable. So it is the worst job to have then, I guess, in coaching.
So Black Monday, the WNBA just goes for like 2 months.
I guess it goes for at least a couple weeks. So we shall see there. And did you watch any Indiana Purdue over the weekend basketball? Watch a little bit. Boy,
Purdue losing a high-scoring game at Creighton, right? 93-87.
Nothing crazy. I mean, Creighton, it was a step ahead of them early on in the season.
Purdue's big three did all the scoring. That would be Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Trey Kaufman.
And I watched a little bit of IU. It's just, boy, that game was drug into the abyss, which is exactly what Rick Barnes likes to do, with just a bunch of holding and grabbing and no fouls being called. So Indiana got the win, though.
Miles Rice sounded like was pretty good.
Miles Rice was really good. Yeah, he's good getting to the bucket. I thought Ballo was okay. So
can't throw it in the ocean though.
No, he's going to have some issues, and he's going to travel a lot.
Well, no, I meant IU shooting from 3, right?
No, nobody could score in the game. No, it was, at one point, I wondered if they were just going to all score in the 40s and 50s. Like, I thought it was going to be that low scoring of a game, but we'll have more time this week to talk some college basketball as well. What was Shane Steichen thinking, plus what's going on with Anthony Richardson? We'll try to dissect both of those statements. We'll do it next here. It's The Fan. It's a Reaction Monday.
1015. The Fan.
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, just told saying I just needed a break right there.
If I just
Anthony Richardson yesterday on why he did tap out of that game with the hand to the helmet there in the third quarter. More on that in a few. I think before we kind of get into the major Richardson discussion, Andy, I've got to go back to the end of the first half because I thought that's where the game was lost. The decision by Shane Steichen on 3rd and 3 to still throw the football, and I thought the risk was way, way too greedy in that situation. Just to set it up, again, it's a 3rd and 3. You're at your own 12-yard line, 34 seconds left in the half, 2 timeouts. You hadn't converted a third down all game long. Your quarterback was the furthest thing from hot. I should say your passing offense was probably the furthest thing from hot. 2 of 14 at that point in the game. I think it's worth pointing out, unlike last week against Miami, you get the ball to start the third quarter. I can see some coaches in that situation that don't get the ball and they're worried about their defense, that they do get a little greedy there. That was not the case for the Colts. They did get the ball to start the third quarter, and yet the immediate play after a near pick on 2nd down, the Colts decide to throw it there. Again, I thought beyond risky. If you really want to throw it, you might as well just 7-man, protect it, chuck it 50 yards down the field to Alec Pierce, see if you get a pass interference.
Yeah, or it's an arm punt if it gets intercepted.
If it gets picked,
who
it's
cares?
at least a punt. So, risky throw over the middle of the field. Jalen Petrie makes a great play on it, and now all of a sudden Houston goes into half 17-10. That sequence lost you the game. To me, most of it is on Shane Steichen. I would like to see better situational awareness from Anthony Richardson to know time, score. But again, Andy, I can't fault him fully for that play because he's just had a really bad first half. Of course he's going to be aggressive. Of course he's going to want to try and make that play happen. In a weird way, it's kind of like Tua's scramble a month ago when he gets injured on that play.
Point.
Tua had played awful on that Monday night game.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to try and make something happen. A coach has got to protect a player, and I think it was another example of times we've seen Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, and not the head coach. Swallow your pride, white flag it, regroup. 10-10 at halftime was not the end of the world. You get the ball to start the third quarter.
Well, no, I mean, not the end of the world. 10-10 was, we were going to consider that a win, were we not? Going into halftime. Again, Anthony Richardson at that point was 2 of 14. I mean, Shane Steichen had it's such a brain fart.
And remember the two, a screen to Taylor
and a bomb on a busted play to Josh Downs.
As open as open can be.
Listen, there is a chance, if the Josh Downs busted coverage doesn't happen, that he goes in with 1 completion into halftime. That's not crazy, but, not knowing your personnel there, not having any sort of feel for your quarterback, not having any sort of feel for time and place. Let me give you what Steichen said after the game about the play call. Here's Steichen on that interception that you're talking about.
I think right there we're trying to be, go score at the end of half is what it is. We're trying to go score just like we did the week before when we threw a chunk play and got it. And that was the decision I was made, and I know it's a results-driven league, and it didn't work out.
Okay, so Steichen doesn't think he's wrong. He doesn't think he's wrong. And let me make a caveat to this conversation. I have been fine, and I think you have as well. We have been fine with the aggressive nature of Shane Steichen. He gets it down inside the 5-yard line, KB, and it's a 4th down, a goal at the 2.5-yard line. What do we think Shane Steichen is going to do for it? Or is going to do? He's going to go for it. He has had 4th downs where he could kick a 52, 53-yard field goal. What has he done? He has decided to go for it on 4th down. We have seen at the end of halves at times, and sometimes it has worked out. He's right, where he has been able to get some points. He is, he's done some aggressive things with having, sending the punt unit out. Now they got to call a timeout. It really helped him in the Miami game 2 weeks ago. But my problem is not that they tried to do something with 1 minute and 2 timeouts on the clock. That's not my problem there. My problem is specifically just the 3rd down call. And after Anthony Richardson nearly throws that pick, he is having a horrendous half, to the point to where if there weren't this, we got to figure him out, and everyone was, and I hate to say coddling, but everyone's just been so nice to Anthony Richardson. Of course, they weren't going to take him out of the game. Any other quarterback, many other quarterbacks there get replaced. And you have to know that that is a situation that you're dealing with. And so the first and second down, I don't have a problem with Steichen saying, hey, listen, I'm going to go try and score here because I don't want to be inconsistent. I've liked many of the times that he mentioned there that he has been aggressive and it has paid off for this team. But yesterday on that third down, you have to know your player. You have to know time and place and game flow. And quite frankly, I think it's the worst moment in a year and a half that Shane Steichen has had as a head coach here in the NFL.
Yeah, it was a bit reminiscent of the Myles Garrett play last year against Cleveland.
Little bit.
When you were in the end zone and you all of a sudden thought, hey, let's try and take a deep shot down the field with a backup right tackle, and boom, Myles Garrett wrecks the game in that moment. Again, play caller versus head coach. And I would disagree with Shane on the Miami comparison. First off, it was about a 20-yard difference in field position. Those two. Miami, you're down 10-0. You don't get the ball to start the third quarter. Yesterday, you're tied 10-10. You do get the ball to start the third quarter. And for what it's worth, Richardson was better in the first half against Miami. And when I say Richardson, I also mean the entire passing operation. Because, again, I thought your protection was pretty weak yesterday. And I cannot tell you how many times I sat there and thought to myself, why are the Texans' wideouts so much more open than the Colts' wideouts?
Yeah.
Everything was contested.
I know.
Everything is just this crowded, here's the Texans guy right there, bang, bang moment. And sure, Houston's DBs made a lot of great plays, but it's like the Colts, they're never in that moment.
Aren't the Colts easy to defend?
Well, that, and then on the flip side of it, the Colts aren't making things difficult for the opponent.
I mean, we understand what this defense
to
is.
Complete passes. So, again, I just would disagree in comparing Indy that situation for Shane Steichen and the Colts to what you had last week. Now, having said all that, again, I thought that sequence is where you lost the game. Mark played the audio for us coming back from the break. Anthony Richardson saying that he was tired. That was the reason that he tapped his helmet. I mean, when I say tapped out, that's literally what I mean. I mean, he literally taps his helmet, and that's why I tweeted at that moment, like, oh, he just took himself out of the game. Now, again, he sheds a, 300-pound defensive lineman on that play. It was looking like a huge sack, and he turned it into, I think it was a no gain when it went down. What did you think of that entire moment?
I thought it was unbelievably silly. It's something I have never seen before. And that's what it seemed to be on Twitter in the NFL. NFL Twitter yesterday was, he did what? What did he do? Here's the problem with what Anthony Richardson did yesterday by taking himself out of the game. Is it the biggest deal in the world? No. Were they going to turn around, whether it's Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson in the game, were they just going to kind of wave the white flag, hand off, and move on? The answer to that is yes, yes, and yes. The problem is Richardson has been, it's twofold. Number one, he has been so bad, KB, that anything you say or do can be weaponized against you. That's a nice rhyme. And this is going to be weaponized against Anthony Richardson because he has not been very good. And then the second thing, and I'm sorry, I believe this. I may not be right. They might be trying, like, they could argue. I would love to have an argument about this. But Anthony Richardson is up there smiling after the game. Oh, yeah, I was tired. I took myself out of the game. He comes across at times, and I'm not surprised by this, as I'm trying to think of the word, as everything has kind of been given to him. They have made sure that he feels as cozy and comfortable as humanly possible. And I'm a part of this. I wanted him to come in here, and I tweeted this out, and this is a bigger discussion. Like, I don't know if the plan for Anthony Richardson was wrong in some sort of a way, but he comes across as entitled. He comes across as, I'm taking myself out of the game because I need a breather, when literally, I mean, even Pat McAfee was against that decision. I mean, he's saying great things about the Colts on a daily basis. I think he comes across as entitled. He hasn't had to earn his starting spot. He was given his starting spot. 2 weeks ago, he's given the dopey line of, I'm one of one. Yeah, you're the worst quarterback maybe in the NFL right now. There is a sense of, I don't know, that's how I view it, and it's going to be and this is going to be weaponized against him, and it kind of adds to the tally of, is he entitled to too much? Does that need to change? Can it change at this point? I got to be honest. I said here today, I don't know what you do other than you play him, and if he plays bad, this is just what happens, KB. Like, I don't know what you do. I mean, you're going to bench him? I mean, they obviously aren't going to do that. I don't know what you do.
Yeah, I think, I guess let me start here. You are correct, and it was one of the more worthless plays of the entire game that he checked himself out for. I think you can acknowledge that. There is part of me that heard his comments post-game and thought to myself, dude, just lie to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Just lie.
Yeah,
so you got the wind knocked out of you or something.
I banged my hand. I need to get looked at.
You shed a 315-pound dude and run for 20 yards. Yeah. You could make up anything, and I'd be like, all right, that's fine. I get that at that point of the game. I've never seen Lamar Jackson do that. I've never seen Josh Allen do it. I don't know. I'm trying to compare like other
Justin Fields, like guys who run around all the time.
Sure, and it's just optically, it's horrific. Really, I mean, it is a must-have divisional game. And I said to you on Friday, it might be the biggest game Richardson's ever played in.
Sure.
When you think about the stakes of what a win would mean versus a loss, and yet you do that. And again, we see guys do this. We see running backs do it. We see wide receivers do it. We see defensive linemen do it. But quarterbacks you just don't see. And again, those types of quarterbacks, Allen and Hurts and Fields, et cetera, Lamar, all of those things. There's part of me that appreciates his honesty, but there's part of me that's like, oh man, just go with anything else. You know, I mean, he was holding his left wrist at one point. Said you felt the left wrist again. I
couldn't believe it.
And this gets back to, I think, just kind of the phrase I used earlier in the show: situational awareness. I thought that was really lacking from him yesterday in newish moments. And this is why I am such a proponent of playing Richardson. He needs to experience these moments. Late first half, you've had a horrific half. Your passing offense can't do anything. You haven't converted a third down. You are realizing, hey, it's 10-10. We get the ball to start the third quarter. I'm backed up on my own goal line. Now is probably not the time to try and fit the ball into a window to Josh Downs. We can live to see another down. We're going to get the ball to start the third quarter, et cetera, et cetera. That's one example. And then the end of the game. That was a great scramble on that final drive. I mean, if you are going to say, hey, you're going to start a final drive with no timeouts, and you're going to get a 22-yard play to start that drive, that is exactly what you want. And he's got a moment there where he can get out of bounds. And not only does get out of bounds, keep him fresher, and I say that in all seriousness because we have seen the winded Richardson before. Remember the Green Bay game?
That's a good point.
When he took a couple of kneel downs in the huddle after those long scrambles. So it wasn't foreign for me to see that. But I thought there, again, that's situational awareness. Get out of bounds on the first drive of the final drive. I think he wasted, if not mistaken, it was close to 20 seconds in not getting out of bounds there. I think if you do that, you have an opportunity to salvage something on that final drive, maybe get into a Matt Gay, 55-yard attempt, something along those lines. And then, with his words post-game, frankly, I just think that's a little bit of situational awareness. You have got to realize what that looks like when the quarterback does it. It's just, right or wrong, it's just a different message that gets sent to your entire locker room. Do I think the questions about his overall play on the field are bigger questions? Certainly.
Agreed.
But still,
you're right.
That is something I have never seen. I have never seen a quarterback do it, let alone a quarterback that runs it. Again, Lamar, the Josh Allens of the world, those guys I think fall a little bit more into the let's compare them to Anthony Richardson than, Peyton Manning, Philip Rivers.
I'm guessing he's not nonchalant. I
thought his words post-game, and I have defended his words.
Right.
I thought his words post-game rubbed me the wrong way.
Oh, they made it worse.
More so than and not just that quote, to be fair. There were some other words post-game that I just...
He had an odd post-game. We talked about this last night. I'm like, Anthony Richardson had a really, really odd post-game press conference. I don't know any other way to say it.
I don't know if he understands it, but it's just here we are, reaching November of his second NFL season, and the questions we had exiting Florida, those questions are still right there on the table, and I would argue many of them have only grown in the year and a half that he has been in the NFL. That's the reality. And now the question becomes, does all of a sudden a borderline miracle happen and he turn it around? Is this some, again, full offseason with Tom House or whatever he needs? Does he need more reps when you're down 3, 2 minutes to go, et cetera, et cetera? You're here. Late first half, you're backed up, you've had a bad half. Can you swallow your pride, live to see a third quarter? These are tough growing pains to watch. It's tough. I mean, if you're a fan right now,
it's rough.
This is tough. I mean, it is tough to see this growth, patient period, developmental period, however you want to describe it, when you haven't won a division title in a decade.
But the problem is, KB, I just feel like at times he is so bad that is there a difference of we got to get him in and to get him more reps, and you look around at the rest of this team and you're letting the other guys down at times. And by the way, listen, I want to say this. I know we're going to take calls next hour. I thought everyone else outside of Josh Downs and Jonathan Taylor let him down as well. I mean, if Tyler Goodson can't catch the ball out of the backfield, let's stop throwing the ball to Tyler Goodson out of the backfield. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. What do they need to do at the trade deadline? They need to get a tight end who can catch a pass.
Yeah, that was quite hey, tight end, national tight end day. Let's combine for one catch.
Every team has a tight end that's making plays, and not only that, KB, I mean, this Kraft guy of the Packers, no one knew who he was. Last 4 weeks, this guy's badass. Well, this guy's had a fantastic month. I'd take anybody.
I'd take both those Texans tight ends, Stover or Schultz.
It's just so the tight ends.
The Colts observe tight end day. They let their guys rest. Take the day off, guys.
I mean, Goodson can't catch the ball.
Very well said, Mark.
I can bang on Pittman here, but Pittman's playing with an injured back, and it goes back to taking yourself out of the game.
Yeah, but you got to have a Pittman question. He had 6 targets and 1 catch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a question. It's a problem.
You just can't live with that. It goes back to what I said to you earlier, Andy. Why are the Colts pass catchers so much more covered than the Texans? Is it scheme? Is it individual talent? Is Richardson not throwing with anticipation? Because I can't sit here seemingly every Monday and sit here and say, hey, man, the box score wasn't that bad. You just had to watch the game. The box score wasn't as ugly.
Yeah, thank you.
Like, I mean, we cannot
There's a lot of that going on.
To say that. And again, when I say that comment, Andy, it's not all on Richardson. But when you are the leader of the passing offense and you are the quarterback, you do get the brunt of it, right or wrong. That's just how that position works. And so that's where I come back to this passing offense right now. And again, personnel, Steichen. Yesterday, I thought the offensive line, for the first time really all year, deserved some of that as well. And then certainly it's on the quarterback.
Well, and then on top of just all of this, they're throwing the football, and they have ran on a scramble Anthony Richardson 1 time. And I went into that game thinking this is going to be a good creative running offense that would utilize Anthony Richardson.
He had a career high with his carries.
A week after we had all of that conversation, and they didn't do any of that. There is a disconnect here. I don't know if Steichen is trying to push through with passing the football. I don't know if AR. I mean, listen, Richardson after the game basically talked about how he needs to be running the ball more. We need to get into some of that sound as well. So there is just, I don't know, yesterday just had a weird feel, and the way it ended, it had a bad feel. And I'll throw on top of it, some of those pass catchers look a lot better when Joe Flacco was in the game. And that's not a play Flacco thing. That is for some reason, I believe Flacco could come into the game and everyone outside of Downs yesterday would have better stats. The passing game would be better, but obviously then you can't run the ball. That's a whole different. Again, I'm not doing the Flacco conversation today, but everyone let everyone down yesterday. AR let everyone down. When the ball was thrown into the breadbasket, the wide receivers and running backs let everybody down as well. Mark, I did like that they observed tight end day.
Yeah, that was very good. Banker holiday, right?
Time and a half, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. We'll keep that conversation going. Some odd sound from Anthony Richardson plus KB. We got to dive into the Pacers 1-2 on the early season. 8 o'clock hour around the corner. It's the Fan right here on this Monday.
on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
3-point game. Halliburton across the timeline. On the drive, steps back, forces a three, and hit it! He forced a double clutch three and hit it to tie the game.
Wow. I mean, we gave up 29 points off turnovers in New York and 31 today. And, you know, we're still hanging in there. But the rebounding differential, I mean, giving up 20 offensive boards is just, it just can't happen.
How are you feeling out there? Do you feel like yourself right now?
No.
Pacers losing OT yesterday. Again, the Halliburton three forced overtime. What they had? They have 3 turnovers at the end of regulation?
Yeah, it was
and just
ugly.
Like strips. Like, I mean, just like Halliburton, Andre Drummond stealing it off
like
them.
Andre Drummond's talking junk to you.
Yeah. Nemhard had a strip there. And then in overtime, missed free throw by Miles Turner to tie the game. Missed free throw by Tyrese Halliburton after Caleb Martin had mistakenly thought that they were up 3 and they were going to foul. Philadelphia tried to hand you the opportunity to play for another overtime, and no answer whatsoever for Tyrese Maxey. So awful Friday night, Madison Square Garden, and not good yesterday in Orlando tonight for the Pacers. Halliburton did shoot it better yesterday after a scoreless night in New York, but still, you're playing with some early season fire here with at Orlando and home to Boston coming up your next 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, that game was vital because of what they have coming up. I don't know. I guess there's part of me here that's, I don't want to say I'm not worried about the Pacers. It's such a long season that I'm not being overly emotional of what we have seen from the Pacers, but it hasn't been good. I mean, I don't know any way to put it. If we thought that Jarris Walker was going to be part of this rotation, I don't know if that's the case. In fact, right now, I would say 2 out of 3 games, of course, a blowout in New York. I would say it's not the case. I don't know. I guess the only thing that worries me, maybe this shouldn't worry me, it should be the opposite, is, you know, the Pacers, boy, they got loved on the entire offseason. And I don't know if they thought this was going to be easy. I don't know if they thought they were going to come out and just kind of pick up where they left off for the most part. But they are a team that is predicated on good, crisp offense and a couple guys that can handle the ball. And they turn the ball over a lot, and their rebounding has been terrible. I thought Carlisle was right after the game yesterday. You know, I mean, Philly, seemingly half their points were off turnovers or second chance points on offensive rebounds. I mean, that, you know, the team that Philly has put out there the first 3 games has not been a good team. I mean, there's a bunch of backups in the NBA, and obviously Maxey was great yesterday. So I'm not going crazy like I am with the Colts, but I mean, there's a chance here you could be sitting and looking at 1-5 to start this season. That's not crazy.
Miles Turner, 6 turnovers yesterday. So get in Orlando tonight, 7 o'clock, home to Boston on Wednesday at 7. The Indiana Hoosiers. I'm such in awe of what that scene was Saturday morning.
You should have been up there. Take the family.
I know. There was a little bit of regret, but then I woke up Sunday morning refreshed and feeling good, and I thought,
fair enough.
That's kind of where my life is. Like, college game day is just such a staple, I feel like, of sports.
It's so awesome, is it not?
And then to have Indiana University football, they let Wisconsin score 83 on them in a game when I was in college. 83 points to the Wisconsin Badgers when I was in college.
And Wisconsin never passed the ball. It was odd. It was all running backs.
Halloween, Andy Sweeney, and they haven't trailed all year.
I know. And I mean, listen, they should beat Michigan State.
They are favored by nearly a touchdown here.
I know they are. Why would we not take Michigan State?
Then they get Michigan after Michigan plays Oregon coming up this weekend. I would think that is beneficial. We'll see about Curtis Rourke and his availability. I did think it was interesting early on. They really threw it with Taven Jackson. But, boy, D'Angelo Pons, you want to talk about a corner. I saw Kenny Moore tweeting about him. He's got some of that instinctual vibes because, you know, I would say it's the first bit of adversity they had all year.
Sure.
Washington is driving. Potentially they could put IU in its first deficit. I forget the defensive tackle who really started that play. He made a great play to get the hand on Will Rogers impact Will Rogers throwing it. And then Pods makes the pick 6. He had another great play down the field on that pick. And then Justice Ellison. I really enjoyed him on JMV a few weeks ago. He's a workhorse back for him, and he was outstanding and just kind of grinding that game and kind of helping Taven Jackson along, and Indiana pulls away in the second half 31-17. We will get our first college football rankings coming up a week from Tuesday. Those mock playoff brackets, Notre Dame and Indiana, first-round matchup.
You know, I'm asking you this, and there's 2 more games. There's Michigan State and Michigan. And then in 3 weeks, or maybe it's 4 weeks, I think they had the bye. Ohio State has Penn State this weekend, okay? So Ohio State has Penn State. They very well could lose that game. It's at Penn State. In fact, the way that Ryan Day is going, I would say they do lose that game. But the only one who chokes in bigger games, who chokes more in bigger games than him, would be James Franklin for the most part. So something's got to give on Saturday. But if Ohio State wins that and Indiana can take care of business, you're legit looking at them being part of College Game Day in Columbus. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself. It's the first time I've done it all year. It would be like number 2 versus number 5 in the country. Can you believe I'm saying that? I mean, it would legit be number 2 versus number 5 in the country.
Like, I cannot believe that 10 months ago, 11 months ago, Kurt Cignetti got up on the set at the Big Ten title game and literally said something to the effect of, yeah, I figure we're going to be in this game next year, so I might as well show up and get a glimpse of it.
Everybody laughed at him. I laughed at him.
And
you
right
laughed
now,
at him.
Oh, I cackled at him.
Of course he would.
And now, here they are in a position to not only do that, but like December 20th, December 21st, Bloomington, Indiana hosting a playoff game?
It's not the dumbest thing in the world. It's really not.
It's a totally plausible thought.
No, it is.
Notre Dame moved their finals schedule around the home potential playoff game.
Oh,
Notre Dame
they?
as an institution did that.
Wow.
Do you think anyone in Bloomington back in August thought, you know what, should we try and keep the students here potentially around that so, we can have that home field environment?
I didn't know Notre Dame did that. I like that. See, that's the dedication to football I'm talking about.
We care about
That's what
football
I need.
a little bit in
Well,
South Bend.
I would say so, just a little bit. Indiana has been a team, and you could do the, they haven't beat themselves. That's true. They have just been, KB, a solid football team, and they can line up and they can run right at you. I mean, that's what they did with Washington. There was no reason to do anything different. There was no reason to pull a Shane Steichen at the end of halftime and start throwing the football around. They do need Rourke back. Okay, I thought Taven Jackson did enough. Okay,
Sure.
He had a game and a half where he did enough. They need Rourke back, but they're just a solid, fundamental, will run it at you, together, cohesive team. And I know a lot of times that's a lot of corny stuff. It's a lot of coach speak, but that's what's going on right now with this football team. And it's something to see. I know a bunch of people, bunch of buddies up there having a great time, kegs and eggs at 6 a.m. And they deserved it, man. They deserved it.
Shout out to Corey. Corey made a sign for College Game Day.
I'm trying to think if I saw the sign
Had
now.
our names on it.
Well, there we go.
Look at that. Shout out to listener Corey for that.
I didn't see the JMV suck sign either. I mean, there's a lot of signs, obviously, at College Game Day.
Yeah,
but
we got the Cignetti Marlboro shirt right away for College Game Day starting off at 9 a.m. Just an unbelievable scene. It
was great.
In Bloomington this past weekend. I think, deserve a shout-out there to 2 Colts players yesterday. I thought Jonathan Taylor and DeForest Buckner were very good in their returns. And little pitch counts. Taylor was over 80% of snaps. I thought he showed patience. I thought laterally he looked good. I thought he was cutting like he normally does. Easily your most consistent offensive playmaker for you. And then Buckner early on, I thought when he hit Stroud there in that first half, I thought Stroud really felt that hit. And I was curious how he would kind of play. Frankly, I was curious if he'd come out of the game.
Boy, they beat Stroud up in that first half.
They did 9 hits, 2 sacks on him. Then Buckner had that sack that took him out of field goal range. Then later in the first half. So I think both those guys deserve a big hat tip for their efforts. Again, little pitch counts for either of them. Maybe Buckner a hair dialed back playing time than normal, but still, both of them played more than I thought they would. And I thought both of them reminded us just why they are 2 of the best, if not the best, players on this football team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought Buckner was going to be the defensive player of the year. So you know what I think, before the season when we gave out those preseason awards. And then I really thought there were probably 4 or 5 plays that Taylor made that just other running backs aren't going to make. It's not even their fault. They get 4 yards and he gets 11 yards. And that's the greatness of Jonathan Taylor. And I'm with you, man. I thought for a second there, I'm like, is C.J. Stroud going to be able to finish this game? I mean, the Colts were coming at him. Dio Dembo, obviously, at the end of the game. I mean, boy, it's a game of inches, isn't it? I mean, he has that return. If that goes a little bit different, I mean, you win that game. And we're in here talking about Anthony Richardson and Shane Steichen, but in a very different tenor, I'm sure, if they go out there and win that game. I guess for the Texans, boy, without Nico Collins, I don't know. Has anything been said? It looked like Steph Diggs blew his knee out. Has anything officially been said? But
nothing on that, which I feel like it's kind of weird that we've had this long of time post-game and you haven't had a player like Diggs, nationally be reported what it was. Yeah, Nico Collins, again, he's on injured reserve. Is it one more game at least?
I believe so,
and
yes.
They play Thursday, right? They've got the Jets on a short week.
They play the Jets. Oh, the Jets and Colts is going to be absolutely moved out of Sunday Night Football.
I warned you a month ago.
You warned us last week at least.
They lost to the Patriots.
They lost to the Patriots. Yeah.
I will say this. I don't know if, I don't think people really cared about it at the time it was happening. The Colts did get a lot of good go their way in the 1 o'clock window yesterday in terms of other AFC wildcard teams. Jets losing.
Yep.
Dolphins losing.
Yep.
Ravens lost.
Boy, that was a choke job by the Dolphins.
That was a choke job. Bengals lost to the Eagles. I can't believe I'm even talking about the AFC playoff picture.
That was an elimination game for the Bengals. Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I was wondering how much you were going to push that this morning because I can't even think about that right now.
That. I know. That's that. Yeah, we can look at it later. But it's just a reminder of the AFC and just the tiers of this conference and how there are certainly a top to it and there is a major bottom to it, and the Colts fall right in the middle, but they're on the back end of that middle right now because teams like the Chargers did win, and the Broncos won yesterday. We'll see about Pittsburgh coming up tonight. But, yeah, the 4 o'clock window did not go as favorable as the 1 o'clock window.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to win. My night's going to be watching the Giants lose and watching the Yankees go down 3-0 to the Dodgers.
So Ohtani's giving it a go?
I guess he's fine. He's superhuman anyway. They'd win. They probably would win anyway. 317-239-1070. All right, let's load them up. Let's take some calls. Reminder, in about 20 minutes, we'll do our GOATs of the weekend. And obviously, we'll keep talking about Anthony Richardson checking himself out. You had the loss. What was Steichen doing at the end there of the first half? And just the passing game in general has been pretty bad here for several weeks. Justin leads us off on this Monday. Justin, fire away, buddy.
Justin, we are great, man. Thanks for calling. Justin, appreciate the call. I would start here with the offense, Andy. It just seems like it's so boom or bust. And they just live in way too many third and longs. When you live in the third and longs, you're going to put a pass rush. They're going to pin their ears back and make some plays. I would say not only maybe run it more on the early downs, it just seems like, and you saw it early second half, the RPOs is what Richardson does do well. If you want to boil it down and look at the stats, that's what he does do well. The RPOs can lead to some of those kind of quick little easy access throws that might not, Kylan Granson for 5 yards in the flat,
which he did last year,
isn't going to wow you.
Exactly.
But now it puts 3rd and 3 on the board. Well, what happens 3rd and 3? Now Richardson's legs are an element that you can, throw in there. So I would start there with the offense. As far as the defense is concerned, look, again, we've talked about them very minimally here on this Monday morning. I just can't give them an A for yesterday. The Houston Texans were the worst passing offense in the NFL without Nico Collins. Stephon Diggs leaves in the third quarter, and they throw for 285 on you. And again, you didn't get your hand on a single pass in the final 31 attempts from C.J. Stroud. Yet you were pressuring him When you sacked him 2 times, you hit him 9 times, yet no playmaking on the back end of your defense. Mixon goes over 100 yards. 2nd and 16 from the 2-yard line turns into a field goal. 2nd and 19 later in the game without Collins, without Diggs. They convert that, get into a field goal. I just can't. Yes, again, on the blame level, it's low on the list. But I can't give that unit an absolute A for yesterday.
239-1070. Yeah, well, I'm not going to give them an A, but I expect very little out of them.
Yes, but
you know
still,
what I'm saying?
I mean,
like for them yesterday, for this defense to allow 20 points, I almost look at it like I'm with you. I don't disagree with you, but I don't expect them to go out there and be dominant against somebody, right? I guess, and they almost, and that's the problem with the near the end of the game. They almost came up with the play, like they almost had it.
Yeah, Dangbo blew that up.
But Dangbo was down.
Are we good with that call? Mixon did, I guess, throw him to the ground.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Unfortunately, it's the right call.
What do you think of the Kenny Moore pass interference?
I thought it was weak.
Yeah.
I thought it was weak.
I thought it was weak, and I also thought CBS was very poor in their replays yesterday.
Agreed.
Can we get the behind shot of how much is that right hand, right arm on him? We didn't get a good shot of the was it Hutchinson that made the diving catch?
Yep. Didn't get one. I had to go back and rewind it.
Right.
45 seconds
we didn't
to
get
watch
a good look at that. I thought that could have been a Steichen challenge moment. So, again, through 7-8 games, I think the Colts largely have gotten the better whistle. But I thought yesterday, Kenny Moore was probably the big one.
Yeah. The flag was 5 seconds late. I mean, throw the flag or don't throw the flag. Nick up next, 239-1070 on the Fan on this Monday. Nick, what's up?
Hey, guys. How are you doing? Andy, quick thing. I got to back you up on that. You are absolutely right. And what we all knew the disclaimer at the beginning was that Anthony Richardson is a kid that has been, if you're not going to say it, I will, been coddled because of how freaky and flashy his athleticism is. I'm not taking that away from him, but we all know what we were getting when we read the disclaimer on draft day. We all knew this, and that he is what he is. But one thing about here's the thing, though, regarding him tapping out of the game. Kevin, Andy, I do professional development consulting for a career, and I've worked with a bunch of companies that will hire what they call wonderkins, fairly young men and or women in VP positions. And this is a 50-50 gamble because you are dealing with, keyword here, maturity. There's a certain degree of maturity that comes with life when you want to
sometimes. And the fact of the matter is, I think Shane Steichen yesterday, as a result of not acting from that, he is now at risk of losing that locker room. Because here's the thing, he's talking about being player-centric, and he has all the lip service. And let me tell you something. You talk about awareness, and you mentioned the third down play and everything, but Shane Steichen is an offensive engineer, and we've already had one of these types of these minds coaching our team. Reference, Frank Reich. He does not have game awareness. He lacks the situational awareness because he's too hyper-focused on the offense. He doesn't delegate. Just because you're a good engineer doesn't make you a good manager of engineers. This is where he's starting to fail. He's setting up Anthony Richardson for failure. He's trying to make him into something he's not. He's not a pocket quarterback. Shane Steichen needs to improve. Otherwise, I think he's laid the framework now to lose that locker room from allowing Anthony to do what he did simply from immaturity. And you got to correct the kid if he did that. Or you have all these older guys, whether it's on a team or whether it's in a company, says you're going to let this kid get away with this kind of behavior, which I think Ballard allows his team to get away with anyway, lack of discipline, lack of accountability. Shane Steichen has officially laid the groundwork as a result of not acting on that comment or to lose that locker room. Your guys' thoughts, because I think he's in the spiral at this point.
Well, I will say this.
Thanks for the call, Nick.
Appreciate the phone call, 239-1070. I would say the last couple weeks have not been good for Shane Steichen. Am I off the Steichen train? No. Am I on it as much as I was maybe last year or before the season? I'm not as well. Two things on that. Let me ask you this, KB. How much of Anthony Richardson's development is on Shane Steichen? Like, I'm just asking in general. In other words, AR looks bad out there. He looks lost out there. The scheme doesn't look like it's getting anyone open. And our first caller was right. The non-running of Jonathan Taylor. And then, your quarterback comes out very vocally and says, I'm 1 of 1 running the football. And you run the football one time in the first half and it was a scramble. Otherwise, you had 0 designed runs for your quarterback. You mentioned the RPOs. Steichen is at fault here a little bit, but I wonder how much, I wonder what he's doing or not doing that is frustrating him on and why AR is not getting it.
Because a game like yesterday shows that he's not getting it. He's pretty far away from getting it, quite frankly.
Yeah, a lot of it, I guess, to answer the first part about Steichen and in charge of the Richardson development. I went back actually after the game yesterday and I said, all right, let me pull up an article that I wrote right after Richardson was drafted. Like, what questions did I have of him exiting Florida right before his rookie season? And one of the questions that I threw in there was, how do you handle the moment of being an NFL quarterback? Being an NFL quarterback is just different.
Sure it is.
Flat out, it is different. And sure, SEC life is pretty crazy, but NFL life is different when you play the most important position in sports. And I thought yesterday, in-game, and again, post-game, which is not something I have said about Richardson, I thought the one-of-one comment was a little bit blown out of proportion. The previous week, I thought it was in reference to him as a runner. But I thought the maturity of him on the field and off the field yesterday was lacking. Now, again, from a coaching standpoint, did I think Shane Steichen could have put him in a better position at the end of the first half? Undoubtedly. Do I think Shane Steichen in this offense needs to put him in better situations for the easier access throws? Certainly. Why was Richardson better last year than he is this year? I think that's a totally fair question.
It's a great question. I don't know the answer to it.
Because whether it's the turnovers, whether it's the completion percentage, he was certainly a better quarterback last year in a brief sample size than he has been this year in a little bit more of a sample size. So I think right now the questions for the head coach and the questions for the quarterback are beyond fair.
You want to take one more, and then we'll just keep going? We'll take a break and keep going. We'll have a morning check down here in a second. 239-1070, Dave up next on The Fan on a Monday. Dave, what's up?
Hey, guys. Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I mentioned this yesterday when I called in on Rachel's show. Completely agree with some of the comments. I'll just say this. In my opinion, someone like Shane Steichen has forgotten more about football than I know, so I say that. At the same time, that was a game, let's be realistic, that we were right in, and if we win, we were right in the division. And I know everybody talks about, kind of separately from your points, that, we need to develop Richardson. I felt like that was a game where the pitcher didn't have it in the first inning, or a hockey goalie doesn't have it and goes, hey, listen, you are still our quarterback, but right now we're going to make a move for the second half. And first of all, if that was to kill somebody's confidence, like you said, that you don't belong being an NFL quarterback, was that the time to say, listen, we're not switching, we're not changing who our number one is, but for the second half, our best chance to get a critical win might have been Flacco, and it's not to say I'm on the Flacco train. Thoughts on that? Appreciate you guys taking my call.
I agree with that. KB, I think they're 2 games away from having to make a decision what they want to do.
If Joe Flacco starts the second half, do the Colts win that game?
Yes.
Really? I didn't think Richardson was that bad in the second half. I thought he threw a bunch of balls that hit dudes in the hands.
I mean, listen, that is the problem. You can't totally box score hunt Anthony Richardson because he had Alec Pierce had a terrible day. Alec Pierce had a very bad day.
And
I don't know any other way to put it. He had a bad day. Tyler Goodson dropped a touchdown.
I just didn't. I don't know if I look at yesterday and think if Flacco starts the third quarter, the Colts all of a sudden come back and win. That final drive with 2 minutes to go. Didn't the offensive line just get roasted there? Do you think Flacco escapes there?
They had 2 drives in which they had 10 plays and 15 yards. I think it was their final 2.
But wasn't that so much on the O-line?
I guess
didn't Nelson have a false start that put them behind the chains? And
he did. I feel like Flacco can kind of make guys better. Has Anthony ever made a guy better on the field? A good pass for a receiver. Maybe the running game, but you don't utilize him in the running game.
Yeah,
right.
I understand what you're saying, but I did think Richardson was better in the second half. Granted, first half he obviously was really, really poor. I think in general there. The 3rd and 3 sequence, that's just what lost you the game. And I harped on that a lot an hour ago. I'll probably do it at some point again. Steichen tried to compare it to the Miami game the previous week. I couldn't disagree with it more. You're tied. It's 10-10. Swallow your pride. Look at how Shane Steichen started the second half with Richardson.
Yeah.
First off, you get it back into Taylor's hands.
Yeah, totally opposite of what we saw in the first half.
The option play to Josh Downs.
Oh, that was a great play.
Again, those are, I think, some of the stuff you want to see. I thought a few more of the easy rhythm throws. And again, I'm not sitting here acting like Richardson was great in the second half, but under that pressure, Flacco is Sam Ehlinger's probably getting in the game under some of that pressure that Richardson was under yesterday. He sacked 5 times. And so
no, it could have been 8.
I don't think you can ignore that either. But I just
he
thought
could have been sacked 8 times, KB. He was carrying defensive linemen on his back.
I thought the 3rd and 3 sequence, Steichen deserves full blame for it, or a huge portion of the blame. Again, you'd like for your quarterback to have situational awareness, swallow his pride, but that's a guy that's struggling. He wants to make a play. The head coach there, run it with Taylor. You just had the near pick on 2nd down. You only have 2 timeouts. It's a long shot to get into field goal range. Take 10-10. You get the ball to start the 3rd quarter. Unlike the Miami game when Miami got it to start the 3rd quarter, live to see another down. And again, the 3rd quarter, you actually had a nice try. It was somebody had a holding penalty that got him out of field goal range. Pittman, maybe?
I think it was Pittman, yeah.
So again,
it was
you had a really promising drive there to start the 3rd quarter, and boom, you have a penalty. And this is where I think some of the others, and you've hit on this on several occasions, Andy, today. Your others have got to step up too.
Yeah, they failed.
And I thought too many of them did not. How many false starts did Nelson have?
That's why I'm not as, listen, I have been down on AR, but I'm not like bench Anthony Richardson because nobody yesterday outside of Josh Downs played well. I mean, the offensive line didn't. Michael Pittman didn't. I know he's injured. The tight ends are non-existent in the offense. I mean, A.D. Mitchell had a couple plays, but I mean, all Alec Pierce had a couple drops. Goodson drops a touchdown. In all, they basically failed around Anthony Richardson. And then when they didn't catch the ball, he had a bad play. This is full system's, terrible.
Again, if Flacco starts the 3rd quarter, do you win the game? That's the thought. These are your second half drives, okay? So the first drive, 6 plays, 39 yards. Again, what happens? You get the holding penalty there, and all of a sudden that drive is over. The next drive, that was a field goal drive. So you're able to go down there. I think it was an offsides penalty that you ended up having to settle for a field goal. Pass interference in the end zone, remember that? They did the crossing route. They called it for the 2nd time. Your next drive was a touchdown drive. 11 plays, 70-yard drive. Downs makes a great catch, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have the 3 and out. Well, the 3 and out is when your O-line just gets roasted. And then the final drive of the game is obviously what ends in the failed Hail Mary attempt. They're not even getting it off. So, again, I look at those 5 drives and think, you scored on 2, penalty killed you on the other one. One of them, your offensive line was terrible. I just don't know if I can say Flacco would have won you the game by starting the second half.
No, let's move off Flacco. Let's get to a morning check down just because they're not going to do that. And everyone's bellyached around here about you want to see Anthony Richardson. You want to see him get reps. You got reps. Let's go to a morning check down. These are what the reps look like. Sorry.
The morning check down, brought to you by Marian University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
All right, 239-1070. We'll keep taking the phone calls. Obviously, our goats of the weekend coming up as well. Let's start with yesterday, 23-20. Your final post-game here, Shane Steichen. Confidence still has it in his quarterback.
We got to just keep working through it. He's got a good work ethic. He grinds through these things, man. It's a process. We do it together. So I say this thing is together. This ain't about one guy. This is about the team, and it's always going to be about the team.
Yeah, that's basically the mantra that you heard from Shane Steichen. Yesterday, let's hear from Anthony Richardson. He was asked straight up, are you a great passer of the football? Here's what AR had to say.
I feel like I'm a great passer. I've been playing quarterback pretty much my whole life. I'm just a different quarterback from everybody else, so people are going to try to point out that I'm not as efficient as everybody else, but it's cool to me. I run the ball way better than every other quarterback. Probably not Lamar, but than most quarterbacks. So I take advantage of my opportunities. I just use my powers to the best of my ability. And when I am delivering the ball, I feel good about it. And when I'm running it, I feel good about it as well.
Yeah, I thought situational awareness lacking during 60 minutes of football. I thought post-game, some head-scratching comments from the Colts quarterback. You guys want to take an early stab at the line? Colts at Vikings, Sunday
touchdown
Night Football?
Yeah,
underdogs.
I was going to say 6.5, 5.5.
I'm saying 7.
7.
Right at a touchdown?
7.
Again, Vikings have played bad the last 3 weeks. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for Indy.
Their left
be
tackle,
honest.
Christian Darrisaw, out for the year, suffered that injury on Thursday Night Football. Week 8, what did you guys notice? Mark Dykton, I'm sorry.
I was going to say,
don't even
what did
go
I
to
notice?
him.
There's
Yeah.
one thing I very specifically noticed. It's probably going to be on my go to the week.
Tyreek Stevenson, maybe?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm going with you take Deshaun Watson out, the Browns can beat anybody. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. The Jets lost their
Jameis
season.
Winston pregame speech
it's fantastic.
was epic.
Yeah, we may get to that. That may be a sound of the day later on.
There should be a parade in Cleveland today, just about Jameis Winston.
He quoted scripture
crab
before,
legs for everybody.
I was going to say
he quoted scripture
Seafood
before the
Monday.
game, and then he quoted Eminem after the game.
So
it's the only way to do it.
So good. Yeah, I would argue Eminem maybe is scripture. Giants Steelers tonight, Monday Night Football. Andy's Giants on the road.
Have fun. Get a good night's rest
in Pittsburgh. Luckily, the Pacers are in action. I think that's lucky. I don't know. Tyrese Halliburton certainly happy that they have a game tonight. Awful this weekend. They lose Madison Square Garden, really get run off the floor in the final 2.5 quarters of that one. And then yesterday afternoon, they lose in overtime. Halliburton hits a 3 to force it into OT. Then in overtime, Turner misses a free throw. Halliburton misses a free throw. In general, they were just so sloppy with the basketball. Several big turnovers to end regulation. It was one of those things where it's like, I can't believe we're all of a sudden the Pacers are down in this game. Like, I'm watching the final couple minutes, and it's like Nembhard turnover, Halliburton turnover, Halliburton turnover. Next thing you know, Philly's got the lead, and you need this Halliburton 3 to save them. So at Orlando tonight, Andy, Boston on Wednesday.
Oof, not easy.
Boy, early season wake-up call here for the Pacers.
They need to get it going. Indiana won over the weekend, basketball and football, and then Notre Dame over Navy. So I'm sure the Bowen household was happy on Saturday afternoon. Everyone's good to go.
Come on!
In the college football playoff for the season were to start today. So busy weekend in college football. We'll keep taking calls. 239-1070. What do you think about the Colts and Pacers from over the weekend? And then obviously our GOATs of the weekend around the corner as well. Appreciate you waking up with us on this Monday. Wake up call 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
All right, if you've ever thought about anything from an indoor or outdoor concrete standpoint, go to Galaxy.
AB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
We have a change at quarterback. Joe Flacco is in at quarterback now. Anthony Richardson is out.
Needed a second to potentially catch his breath. Shane Steichen came over and talked to him. Joe Flacco coming off the field checked on him. He's on the bench right now. No injury designation, just taking a minute to compose himself.
He needed a breather. He ran 3 times in a row, and it was 3rd and long, and so we were going to hand the ball off.
Mark Dykton on a re-entry that
great.
I never thought we would ever have on this show, but granted, we...
That's the weirdest answer.
I mean, you gotta lie,
he was
don't
out of
you?
breath. He couldn't hand the ball off, guys.
I'm watching the replay. I'm like, well, he kind of got hit, weirdly in the lower body.
Yeah.
And, it's not... Do we give him credit and be like, yeah, he knew it was going to be a 3rd down handoff? Or did he tap out so quickly? There's no way he could have known that.
I'm not giving him any credit for it. Not whatsoever. Sorry. It's one of those moments. I know we'll talk about the 9 o'clock hour.
I've never seen it in the NFL.
It's going to be used and weaponized against Anthony Richardson unless he turns things around and starts playing better football. Period. End of discussion. It really is.
It's one of those things where I'd love to get, before Shane Steichen, Hammer brings in this alcohol for us seemingly every Thursday. We all take a shot. It's one of those things I'd love to have given Shane about 5 of those before he went up to the podium and then ask him that question.
I know, because he's having to take, the slings and arrows for it. Oh, yeah, I mean, how many times with Jalen Hurts was, Jalen Hurts asked guy of the game after he ran the tush push 3 different times.
I don't know. Maybe Lamar Jackson has, but I certainly have never seen it. All right, we'll get to our GOATs of the weekend in a few. I do want to give a big, big shout out. That was a hell of a catch by Josh Downs right there near the goal line.
He's
Obviously
so good.
Called a touchdown. I think what Downs reminds me of, and yesterday was one of them, Andy, is there's more to the game.
Oh, yeah.
Than just the Wes Welker, just the Brandon Stokely, just the, little shifty slot guy, 6 yards, put your foot in the ground and get open. He's got more to his game. And remember, he told us that at training camp. He's like, there is more to my game. I want to be more of an explosive downfield guy. That was a great ball by Richardson on the downs.
It was a great pass.
Touchdown.
Great
I feel
pass.
Like was the play before the Goodson drop?
I believe so, yeah.
So, I mean, again, back-to-back big chunk plays that you could have had there. Obviously, one wouldn't have happened if Goodson hauled it in. But, man, what a great play by Josh Downs. He is such – I'm going to write an article for our website later in the week. We'll probably discuss it on the show. It is kind of the midway point of the season, mid-season awards you give out. I mean, the Colts MVP right now, to me, is Josh Downs.
Yeah, without a doubt, he missed a couple games. And listen, both of us were bullish on Josh Downs having a great season. It was the easiest thing to predict, and it's happening right now. If he can stay healthy, man, he is just solid and dependable. And right now, there are not too many guys on this offense that are solid and dependable, and he most definitely is one of them. He's a really good player. It's good, and I don't know. I thought he got into the end zone. I guess they called it down to 1, whatever. I thought he got in. We're forgetting the play as well. Where was it offensive pass interference or did he touch the ball first? Alec Pierce, where he was open in the end zone too.
Right, that was the one
his foot's out of bounds.
They called.
Was it holding on Pittman? Was that the Pittman play? I thought that was on Pierce.
That was the Pittman crosser, right?
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Pierce caught it, right?
Yeah,
and Pittman
he caught
was
it.
out.
Which
Pittman was whistled.
Yeah, which was unfortunate because, that was a good play, and that would have kind of redeemed Alec Pierce just a little bit. But Josh Downs, I can't say enough good about him. That dude's a beast.
GOATs of the weekend time.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
So I think when the Colts lose, we start lowercase GOAT, and this will be a layup. This will be a backboard slap. It's on a tee for Mark Dykton. Go right ahead, Mark.
Well, I already teased it, but Tyreek Stevenson of the Chicago Bears.
Set it up for those that have somehow not seen the video.
Do I have to?
It is epic.
All right.
And
well, the
retweet
Bears
it from
played
our show
like
account.
complete garbage for 3.5 quarters. They somehow took the lead, despite Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron's best attempt to not win that game. They took the lead with like less than a minute left. Then, they give the Commanders the ball. 20-odd seconds. Jaden Daniels has 2 seconds remaining. Running around for like 30 seconds. Throws the ball up. Tyreek Stevenson tips the ball Washington Commanders come down with the game-winning touchdown to end the game.
Noah
Video
Brown
comes out later, fan video, that Tyreek Stevenson was, as the play was going, goading the Commanders fans and the bench, and then realizes, oh, the play's still going on. I should get over there. And then on top of it all, he's the one that tipped it into the air and into the arms of the waiting Noah Brown.
It's one of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
No, it's funny. I mean, I part of me
Unless
felt bad
you are
for
a Bears
Mark.
fan, how are you not dying laughing at that?
Oh, I was laughing even still. I was trying to conserve my voice because you can hear it. It doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
So I was trying not to talk all weekend, and my wife was sitting there with me, and she looked over me, and she's like, my jaw was on the floor, first of all, and then expletives galore just came out of my mouth because I was like, what in the hell are you doing? And
Well,
it's
I
just
mean,
like, it's so typical.
The Caleb Williams reaction was everything.
It's the yes, your boy's going after the crowd, but it's also, how do you let Noah Brown get behind you? I mean, that's Cardinal sin
shout
number
out to
one.
Noah Brown. That was
Shout
a heady
out.
play.
And then on top of it, I just despise, and you saw the Texans not do this at the end of the game, I just despise rushing three there.
Well,
I think you got to send 4 or 5 guys
and
at
the
least.
Bears had a weird spying linebacker that really didn't do anything.
He
I'm like,
stood there.
Just like if Jane Daniels scrambles, he's not scrambling 60 yards for a touchdown.
I mean, you're missing 2 of your best secondary members because Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker were both out. But still, I don't know how you let that happen, and it's just... Again, it is a wild swing from going from 5-2 to 4-3.
It is,
especially in the NFC North.
It
that
is
is so loaded up
in that division.
And another lowercase goat, Shane Waldron, for deciding to run Doug Kramer, the backup center, on the goal line, and then gave up a fumble. That should have ended the game right there.
I'm with Mark. That actually makes me angrier than the end of the game. Almost.
Stop.
Almost.
No, you couldn't do
any jumping jacks in the end zone.
You couldn't do anything. You couldn't do anything
history.
offensively that whole game, and that's what you bust out that play. Then that's a game. That's a play you bust out when you're up like 20 or something.
It was needed comedic relief for Colts Pacers fans. Andy Sweeney, your lowercase goat.
Okay, it's 2 guys by the name of Amrani and Oscar Leon. You're thinking, who the hell are those guys? Are they, on Manchester United soccer?
Strikers for
well,
Barcelona?
No, here's who they are. They're the 2 sculptors who did the Dwayne Wade statue over the weekend, Mark. Some more Chicago love. The Dwayne Wade sculpture
it looks
is
like
horrific.
The Ronaldo statue.
Well, that's it. I mean, we have the Ronaldo sculpture is not very good. Isn't the Kobe one outside in L.A. not great? The Ronaldo one, multiple Ronaldo ones look terrible. We've had like 4 or 5. Oh, the Allen Iverson was like 3 feet. Like, they made Allen Iverson like a 3-foot statue.
It's like the Al Jefferson bobblehead I saw.
Like, I don't understand how these guys make, they're artists, okay? I'm not an artist. How these artists, they make this sculptor. It doesn't look anything like Dwayne Wade, and then they bring this sculptor to the Chicago Bulls. And someone or the Miami Heat, the Miami Heat, and someone has to be looking at this, and they gotta say, this doesn't look very good. I mean, are there no checks and balances? I don't know. The whole thing, it made me laugh, so that will be forever
you
there.
You got a tour at
in
IMA
Miami.
coming up later today to take some art in on this Monday.
Come on.
Boys, I say this as a young parent. I think all of you are with me. Today, 71 degrees.
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
I know.
81.
I know.
6% chance of rain.
I know.
Wednesday, 80. 5% chance of rain. Boys, Thursday is what?
I saw it. Rainy and 50.
Halloween with 90% chance of rain.
Of course.
It snowed last year, if you remember. It snowed.
It was awful last year. Cold as hell.
3 degrees.
We were battling the elements, and now we got that BS. When's the last time it's rained?
All the kids are going to be sick. Listen, I'm with you. I've already looked at it. It looks disastrous.
They said I think I saw a thing the other day where it's like we need like a 1/10 of an inch in rain to not set the record for least rainy
in the month of October.
Fall. Yeah.
I mean, it is unbelievable. Lowercase goat Halloween weather.
And then Friday's going to be 60 and Sunday.
Of course.
Sunny, and Saturday's supposed to be 67 and sunny.
Uppercase goat. Hear me out on this one, all right?
Okay.
Gary Morse.
Gary Morse, okay.
Gary Morse is a high schooler.
Okay.
First off, I didn't know we were still naming people Gary, but Gary Morse is a high schooler. Gary Morse is a high-level baseball recruit.
Okay.
Gary's official visit list in a 3-week stretch: Vanderbilt, Oregon, Tennessee. Gary got to storm the field on back-to-back Tom Amansky official recruiting visit.
Wow.
Oregon against Ohio State.
Yep.
Vanderbilt and Bama.
Yep.
Bama one more time. for good measure with Tennessee. Can you imagine?
That's pretty good, man.
The parties and the things he saw?
That's pretty good.
And who he might have woken up next to in these 3 cities?
My God.
These colleges?
Good for him.
Storming the field?
That's good.
Garrett Morris is winning life right now.
You know what? We might just want to shut the segment down after that. Here's mine, and KB's going to like it. I'm not sucking up to you. It's Texas A&M.
Oh, thank you for this. I loved Mike Elko post-game, by the way. We're going to need to play that sound at some point
Mike
this week.
Elko is awesome, but here's the thing. They've won now, 7 in a row after losing to Notre Dame. So A&M beating LSU and taking care of Brian Kelly.
Result for the Irish.
Notre Dame fans love it because he beats Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's dismal at LSU with ranked opponents, and it helps. It really helps Notre Dame get into the college football playoff. But there's also this. And fans boosters, but message board guys and Twitter guys get called a lot of bad names when it's coaching search time. But Texas A&M and they were going to have a Board of Regents meeting to hire Kentucky's Mark Stoops. And they didn't do it. And the fans revolted. And the Peaks.com people, AggieYell.com, okay, they revolted and they said, we don't want Mark Stoops. We want somebody else. They went out. They got Mike Elko. He seems like a star. And right now, they're a win against Texas. And maybe they could even lose that game for making the college football playoff. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
Mark Dykton to round it out.
Jameis Winston is maybe the hero we all needed, especially in Cleveland. Rescued the Browns from a horrific season so far. Topped the Ravens 29-24. He was outstanding yesterday. 3 touchdown passes, 27 for 41, 65% completion passes. And then post-game, dropped a little Eminem knowledge.
There's a white boy from Detroit that I really admire named Eminem. He said, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity lasts once in a lifetime. And I know I got a quote. Eminem from Detroit, he right up the road, but man, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that the Lord provided me with this opportunity. I'm grateful for my teammates, my coaches, and these amazing fans.
How do you not love Jameis Winston?
Unreal. So good. And I love Eminem. And I love Jameis Winston. Did you guys see him pregame? How he was talking about playing for the decal on the helmet?
Do you happen to have that, Mark?
He was like, playing for the decal on the side of the helmet. Then he's like, oh, wait, we don't have a decal.
I believe. I believe. Come on. I believe. Listen, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard what the Lord got for the Cleveland Browns. Come on. Okay? We don't have to see instant gratification. We don't have to see something good happen, folks. We got to believe. Yes, sir. We got to have that unwavering faith. Come on. I got that. Come on, man. You got one opportunity. You got one opportunity. Yeah. Most of it, man. And I believe in my crew. Hold with me. I want you to go. Family on 3, family on 3. 1, 2, 3, family.
Scored 23 points in the second half.
God bless him.
That's not too bad.
He's outstanding.
He is outstanding.
30-30 club, 30 touchdowns, 30 picks in a year.
God, I remember that 30th pick. It was like 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
He's got 4 touchdowns on the season. Deshaun Watson has 5.
Good for him. Good for him. Good. I love the Lord shining on the Cleveland Browns. That has not happened many times. God bless you, Jameis, if you're the one that's able to do that. We'll take your calls. We'll wrap up hour number 2 and dive into the 9 o'clock hour. We'll do it next here on this Monday. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
All right, plenty to recap from the Colts losing yesterday 23-20 in Houston. I did think a sneaky play we haven't really talked about, that opening drive to the third quarter. That was actually, I thought, one of the better drives of the game. We talked about the play call, and you got Taylor going right away. You ran Richardson and Josh Downs on that option play to the left. You did get a penalty on Michael Pittman Jr. for holding. But then on third down, Richardson fumbles that exchange, snap. I don't really know what you want to call it there, but clearly some ball security. You were probably in field goal range right there, Andy, and all of a sudden that created a bigger loss, and you had to.
Well, no, it's a losing play.
And again, these are things.
It's a losing play.
We've seen happen a couple times this season. Of like, there are too many other Richardson Colt offense related issues for those to be popping up. And if you have one of those a week, it's going to be really costly. I mean, you're fortunate to get back on it, frankly, there and still win field position, but you didn't kick the field goal there. They then went on a, 80-yard drive to get a field goal, stretch that lead to 10 points there. I thought that was a big sequence.
All right, we'll keep talking about it. One more hour to go. What did you make of the weekend? We still have our Colts headline, so if you want to get in on that, you can as well. 317-239-1070. Get in. We'll take some calls. Plus, what's up with Anthony Richardson and the baffling play calling by Shane Steichen? We'll do it next year. It's a Monday on The Fan.
AB and Andy on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
RPO backing to throw is Richardson. Loading up, taking a shot. Wide open is Josh Downs. He's got it down the far sideline. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Walk-in touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Under center, Stroud. Outside zone. Big gaping hole for Mixon. He's at the 10. Breaks out to the left side. Inside the 5. Looking for the end zone, and he makes it. That's a 14-yard run by Joe Mixon, and there was some strength behind his pads on that one. And Mixon into the end zone. Richardson backs to throw. Here comes the blitz off the right edge, and they get him. It's a sack for Will Anderson. He's their team leader in that department. He now has 7.5 sacks on the season. Anthony Richardson looking over the defense. Takes a shotgun snap. Plants. Looks to his right. Fires upfield. Picked off. This is Jalen Petrie. Petrie at the 10. Angling to the right. And he is stopped before he can get to the 5-yard line by a couple of offensive linemen.
Now that was ridiculous.
That's a cardinal sin.
I said go in tied up 10-10. That was silly. That was a silly call and a silly throw.
Stroud backs to throw, planting, stepping up in the pocket, throws into the end zone. That's a catch to get 2 feet in. They call it a touchdown on the field, and it's Tank Dell, a back-breaking turn of events. Richardson out of the gun, play action. Turns his way to the right side, gets out of a sack. Now he's running upfield. He's to the 25, and he's going to be chopped down outside. The number is right, down around the 24-yard line. Man, oh man, that was an eventful play just to get back near the line of scrimmage and avoid yet another sack.
I'll tell you one thing.
Hold on just a second, Rick. I beg your pardon, because we have a change at quarterback. Joe Flacco is in at quarterback now. Anthony Richardson is out.
Needed a second to potentially catch his breath.
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, just told Sam I just needed a break right there.
He needed a breather. He ran 3 times in a row, and it was 3rd and long, and so we're going to hand the ball off.
Richardson backs to throw. Only a 2-man rush by the Texans. Richardson floats left, and he's going to be hit, and he's going to be dropped, and he just throws the ball backwards. It's a loose ball inside the 30, and that's how the game's going to end. The Colts don't even get a pass on.
Yeah, we keep working through the process. It's a process. We keep grinding through it. We do it together. It's a team game. We grind through those things, and we get it figured out.
Boy, I thought that Rick Venturi, a silly call and a silly throw, absolutely spot on from the 3rd and 3 sequence there to end the first half. Also, I must say, Andy, I'm a little confused on the Shane Steichen Richardson had run it 3 straight times before he tapped out there. The previous play, he definitely scrambled and then threw the ball to Pierce, remember, in the end zone. That was a touchdown that was nullified by the Pittman offensive pass interference. But the play before that was Jonathan Taylor for 2 yards. So I guess I don't totally follow he had run it 3 straight plays there. But nonetheless, it's a crushing loss to your divisional hopes. And the reality of the situation is you need the Houston Texans to fall apart and the Colts to turn things around majorly, or else it will be yet another year where the division title goes to a spot other than Indianapolis.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I fell into it. I don't mind saying it. I put it on Twitter. I fell into it. I thought the Colts, after all the rhetoric on how we need to play better football and how we haven't played our best football and everything else, and, Steichen has been preaching that now for the last several weeks. You thought, okay, you cleaned up some of these, pretty much crappy teams that didn't have good quarterbacks. Let's go see what you got. And, the Colts were relatively healthy going into this game. Health-wise can absolutely not be something we stress enough today. Jonathan Taylor was back. You got a sack. You got some, obviously, some big moments there from DeForest Buckner, and they were not healthy. They were missing their top 2 linebackers. They're missing Nico Collins. That passing game hasn't been what we all thought it was going to be the last couple of weeks without Nico Collins. And then, middle of the game, you're in the 3rd quarter, and Steph Diggs goes out with a knee injury. So this one was bad. I know we're going to talk about it here, but, the decision before halftime is just an all-time bad decision. from Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson not getting out of bounds near the end of the game needs to be talked about. Of course, they did have that dump-off pass to Trey Sermon in the middle of the field. That's something we haven't even discussed, that they got 1 second put on the clock. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that was a miracle.
I mean, that was unbelievable. I've never seen them, line up, hike the ball.
Is that an Indy transplant somehow running the clock in Houston?
My God, you would have thought it was Rupp Arena. That's where Kentucky plays. Or, name another arena where you go to, Kansas. If you ever go to the field house, you go to Kansas, you're not going to get too many calls, especially, from Big 12 officials. So, we haven't got to that. And then, listen, we're going to play some sound coming up, but, Richardson taking himself out of the game is going to be used against him. It's going to be weaponized against him. It is confusing. I am wondering now, we're on the air, but the rest of the day, KB, when I go back and I look at Twitter and some of the stuff on ESPN this morning, I'm wondering if any former players come out and say something about it. I know in time McAfee did, and then he kind of softened it on Twitter just a little bit, but Anthony Richardson is a little entitled, and I thought you heard that in his press conference after the game. But all in all, you had everything to play for. You had so many things going your way. And while only a 3-point loss where you're kicking yourself, I just think some of the quarterback and offensive stuff, it leaves you scratching your head. It leaves you worrying what's going to happen here the rest of the season.
Yeah, my thoughts, I guess, specific to the passing offense, it is rooted in, why are the Colts guys so much more covered than the other team's guys?
It's a great question.
Pass protection, I thought, had its worst day of the season yesterday. And then with Richardson, when there are opportunities in the passing game, too often he just doesn't make them. Certainly, I thought he had a couple of really nice balls early in the game. But again, why is everything just so difficult for the Colts when it comes to that? They lived in 3rd and long way too often, especially early in that game. I thought they got away from the RPOs too much. I thought they got away from Jonathan Taylor a little bit too much there. The 3rd and 3 sequence it's just an absolute joke there to end the first half. I disagree strongly with Shane Steichen in comparing it to the Miami game from the previous week. You were down 10-0 in that game. You had actually done something offensively at that point on Sunday. Richardson was 2 of 14 at that point. You had not converted a 3rd down. He had just thrown a pick the previous play. I'm like, this is like me watching Max Bowen eat ice cream in 90-degree heat. And he literally has it almost fall on his lap, the entire thing. And instead of grabbing it from him and taking it from him, I say, you can have one more lick, Max.
Yeah, figure it out.
Well, what'd you think was going to happen, Kevin?
Yeah.
That's exactly what 3rd and 3 was. He nearly gets picked off on 2nd down, and boom, that's exactly what happens on 3rd down there. And again, silly call, silly throw. I think I had a spot on from Rick Venturi there in describing that sequence. You swallow your pride, you wave the white flag, you run it with Taylor, you're on your own 12-yard line. It's going to take several plays to get into field goal range. You only have 2 timeouts. Last week you had more. Last week I should say you were a lot closer to field goal range. You were at the 30-yard line at that point. You get the ball to start the 3rd quarter. I did not agree with that at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one in any NFL circle that would agree with that. Mark, let's play those 2 clips. Clip number 4 here. Here's Shane Steichen on the interception play call before halftime.
Well, I think right there we're trying to be, go score at the end of half is what it is. We're trying to go score just like we did the week before when we threw a chunk play and got it. And that was the decision I was made, and I know it's a results-driven league, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, so there's Steichen. I want to react to that here in a second. Here's Anthony Richardson on the same play.
Man, we were looking for a certain look right there, and then they didn't really give us that look. So I killed the play. I checked it, and then they just played a good zone right there, and JD was pretty much my only target right there, and I thought I was able to fit it in there, but the nickel just did a great job of just jumping under it. So got to give some props to him.
In an ideal world,
definitely killed the play.
Your quarterback would have situational awareness to not be that risky there, to realize, hey, the line of scrimmage, guys, this is not at all what I was thinking. This is not the look that we want. Hey, it's a tie game. We get the ball to start the 3rd quarter. I haven't played well. Our passing offense in general hasn't played well. Let's live to see another down. Let's live to see another series. But to me, Andy, it's unfair to put a player in that sort of position and give him full blame. I brought up the analogy earlier. It is reminiscent to me of earlier this season when Tua got hurt, scrambling down 3 scores on Monday Night Football. that was an awful game for Tua to that point. He's not a scrambler, and so clearly he's trying to make a play at that moment. That's what Richardson's trying to do, and that's kind of what a competitor and what a player does. They feel like, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything right. Let me try and get something here. They force one, and Petrie makes that play. So I just can't go with, again, in an ideal world, your quarterback, maybe more of your veteran quarterback, doesn't make that throw. They live to see that first drive of the third quarter. To me, that's on Shane Steichen, especially after the second down play where he had the near pick.
Yeah, listen, Steichen in his conversation, the clip we played there, I am fine overall with him wanting to be aggressive. Now, there are times that I've disagreed with it. I mean, you have had times where, we've even disagreed with some of his aggressiveness. And yes, it's caught him. I mean, it's cost them games. It cost them yesterday, and it cost them that Cleveland game last year. And ultimately, that Cleveland game, was one of a few games that kept them out of the postseason. And when you look back at the history or the data that we have of this season, if they end up not making the postseason, and obviously now the AFC South is probably out of question. We'll see, but it's most likely out of question. We're going to go back and we're going to look at this game and we're going to look at that call. And I'm fine again. I want to say it again. I'm fine with Steichen being aggressive. He has scored touchdowns off of being aggressive. He has got them in the field goal range on being aggressive. I am fine with him saying my mantra is going to be I'm aggressive. But you also have to have...
Well, then chuck it 50 yards down the field to Alec Pierce and have it be a punt.
You have to have a feel for the player, and you have to have a feel for the time and place. And the matter of fact is, he didn't have any of that. That worries me about Shane Steichen. I'm sorry. That play at the end where he lacks, in his mind, he is lacking what is going on during the game itself. That's what worries me. What is the connection that you and Anthony Richardson have that you think it's good after he nearly threw that interception on second down to come back? See, to me, it's not first and second down. I can live, again, if you're going to be aggressive, and that's fine. That's the way you're going to play, okay. But it's coming back third down, not understanding that you don't have Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts back there, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You have a quarterback who at that point, you're on the air, Mark, sorry, at that point was 2 of 14 passing the football. So it's a problem. And I don't think Shane Steichen's a problem, but I would imagine he probably, the last 10 hours, 12, 13, 14 hours, KB, I would imagine he's probably been beating himself up over that one.
Shane's got to look in the mirror a little bit right now.
I would agree.
I mean, this is a wake-up call. I mean, you had 10 of your 11 offensive starters out there healthy. Will Fries is the only offensive starter you're missing yesterday. That's a healthy group. It's a healthy passing group, and yet you had so much ineptness in that area. Joe, you said it's been hanging in there. Want to talk linebackers, Mark? Is that right? Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Sure. Kind of a tough sports weekend other than IU, and I'll give you credit, Kevin, Notre Dame.
Thank you. I needed to hear that, Joe. Thank you.
I really appreciated seeing the Holiday Bowl team with Coach Corso on game day.
That was an awesome scene. I was glad game day gave all that love that Corso got on Saturday.
It was awesome. I was one of the few kids on campus that game because I had a business school final on Saturday. It was a Friday night game. In any event, I wanted to just talk a little bit about Colts football and a couple of things that I'm not a coach. Junior high football was the best I could do, but it seems to me that our linebacking core, while they make a lot of tackles, they're not meaningful tackles when they're 7 or 8 yards from the line of scrimmage. And a couple of things that I've noticed just on either replay or watching the game from the view of when the camera's behind the defense, it seems like every time our backers try to bring pressure or shoot the gap, they miss the gap completely. And it's frustrating to watch that because we paid a couple of our guys pretty good money, and while they're piling up some statistics, I don't think they're as meaningful as they should be. And I think our pass coverage with our linebackers is way below par. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Joe, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Andy, I mentioned to you earlier, I'm going to do kind of a mid-season awards article here for our website this week. I said Josh Downs probably the MVP at this point. I always do a most disappointing category, and I would label run defense as the most disappointing aspect to this team.
No, agreed.
And specifically, if you had me rank a position group, I would probably say the linebackers. It seemingly is a week. Last week, Shaguna Luby and Grant Stewart covered up the run game issues. They made the two big plays in the third quarter there. Zaire Franklin, of course, involved in as well. That covered up, Miami pretty much running it whenever they wanted to at you. Yesterday, I thought Mixon looked like another Hall of Fame type of day for him. Certainly had some big runs in the fourth quarter, running guys over again. So, yes, I would say the run game issues continue to be a major question for this team. And, yeah, linebacker playmaking. You need more of it. And right now, you're not getting it. I thought Joe pointed out pretty well the impactful plays. It doesn't feel like those are there from that group.
No, Grant Stewart had a missed tackle or two. He had the one down the sideline in the first quarter. I'm not trying to single him out, but, he was so great. He came on with us. He's a fantastic story. Listen, KB, where I am with this defense is simple. They allowed 23 points, and was it good? No. Was it terrible? No. And that's kind of how I view the defense. I don't, a Gus Bradley defense, I'm not expecting to create all of this havoc. And I'm sorry, it fits the narrative of, again, the Colts had an opportunity against a quarterback who is beat up, against a quarterback who's had 2 rough weeks, against a quarterback without a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL and Nico Collins, against a quarterback that, you guys tell me, Steph Diggs probably blew out his knee in the mid-third quarter, right? So, they're playing the last quarter and a half without Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, and again, it's just not good enough. I want to go back to something Anthony Richardson. And, Mark, let's play the checking out of the game sound with Anthony Richardson. Let's play that just to set up the discussion around AR, which I'm sure is going to be all week, quite frankly.
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, just told Sam I just needed a break right there.
This is probably something we can dive into tomorrow. We've already touched on it a little bit. We're paid to give opinions on Anthony Richardson. I don't know what they should do. I don't mind just saying it. I don't want to sit here and say, you put in Joe Flacco. There's several ways that I can look at, and you did this last hour, some of the second half stuff, and say, was Flacco really going to win the game? Now the first half might be a different discussion, but I think it's somewhat silly to have the Flacco discussion. I think it's also, it shows the entitlement that the Colts have given him that Richardson continues to be the starter when he's clearly not an NFL grade. He's not an NFL grade starting quarterback right now in any way. There's no stat or intangible or anything else that you could point to, but you bench him. What does that serve? If you don't bench him and he keeps having these games where there's long stretches where he doesn't give you a chance to win the game, you're not dedicating yourself to running him, even though that is clearly what he's good at. There's no dedication to running him, so they think he's going to get injured. That's the only thing I can think of. And then while all this is happening, I'm not trying to make it sound like the other parts were good yesterday. They weren't. Pittman wasn't good. Really, basically anyone besides Jonathan Taylor and Josh Downs wasn't good. So I'm not letting them off the hook as well. But the passing game and offense has been dismal. I don't know what you do. I don't know if you're doing a disservice to the rest of the football team by having a guy or two out there that simply are not ready to play. And I believe Anthony would be one of those guys that is not ready to play. But then, like you say, what good does it do to bench him and win 8 games with Joe Flacco, who's a 40-yard quarterback who's not going to be here next year? I got to be honest. I don't know what they will do. I don't know what they should do right now with Anthony Richardson, the passing offense, and how bad everything looks. Everything this season continues to regress.
Yeah, again, my answer has been pretty consistent throughout of, I don't think they would do that. bench Richardson, and B, I don't think they should, just because, again, we have watched and read the Joe Flacco type book many times with the Colts here over the last 5 to 6 years. I don't need to read it with just a different character here again this year in 2024. I do think there is part of me, though, that watches yesterday unfold and thinks, when people ask that question and you just asked it, I probably should listen to it a little bit more. Just like, okay, I mean, would there be any good to putting on a headset and listening, watching? Again, my answer is no, but I'm at least listening of like, okay, I could see why people bring that up. I thought yesterday his situational awareness was really lacking in some key areas. I also probably need to remind myself, I mean, these are moments he's barely ever been in. And how much good is it to just watch Flacco try to operate a minute drive with no timeouts and needing to get out of bounds versus Richardson has the big 22-yard scramble in the first play of that drive and he doesn't get out of bounds. Like, to me, I feel like that is a good teaching point here on this Monday for Shane Steichen and Jim Bob Cooter and, Cam
everybody
Turner
else, yeah.
to look at him and say, hey, man, you got to get out of bounds here.
Right.
And now, all of a sudden, Sunday Night Football comes around and he encounters that again. Does he realize, hey, here comes me and Harrison Smith. Instead of taking him head on in the middle of the field, let's just get out of bounds. And if 22 becomes 19, but yet you get out of bounds, that could be a huge difference. And now, all of a sudden, is that ingrained in him? I think that's easier to learn. While it's hard to watch, I think it's easier to learn repping it on the field versus thinking he's going to get that while listening on the sidelines. Because, again, if you look at Florida, he's just, he just hasn't been in these situations. I mean, I pulled an exact, sentence out of an article I wrote in late April, early May of last year after he was drafted. It's a draft pick that hardly any NFL team has ever made when you look at the accuracy questions and the inexperience reps that he had. I mean, you cannot find a first-round pick at quarterback that has had that resume. So it's going to create difficult, awkward, disgusting, frankly, viewing moments.
The Colts are very difficult to analyze as a team because of it.
The hope and the prayer is that there's something at the end of the tunnel. And right now, that light is shrinking by the minute because, again, the arrow is pointing down. And at this point in the Josh Allen career, in the Jalen Hurts career, Andy, it was starting. That light was starting to appear a little bit more. It was rough early. Allen and Hurts, very rough early.
Yep.
But by the midway point of year 2 or start number 10 or 11, you could start to see a little bit of that. With Richardson, it's getting darker. And so that's the question that you have to ask yourself. So, again, I'll listen to it a little bit more than I thought I would, but my answer is still the same.
All right, before we get to a morning check down, we'll take calls on the other side, 239-1070. I thought a lot of people believed that patience was going to mean we'll win some, we'll win enough, and we will feel good that our patience is going to yield positive results in the future and the near future. And when you lose and then the patience may not turn into your feel good on your quarterback developing, that's where people get frustrated. And that's why people will call for a 40-year-old quarterback who probably won't be here next year. Let's jump into a morning check down. Go ahead, Mark.
The morning check down, brought to you by Marian University Football, pursuing another NAIA championship this season. Don't miss the on-campus action at Ascension St. Vincent Field. Visit NUnites.com for tickets.
All right, give you a couple you haven't maybe heard this morning. 23-20, that's your final yesterday. The Colts fall in Houston. No surprise there. Here's Shane Steichen postgame. He was asked straight up, are you putting too much on AR's shoulders?
I don't know. I mean, we hit the big one early, to go up 10-3. And so it was going good. I think, too, we had a few drops there, early. But, yeah, we got to keep working through it. I mean, we came out in the second half, ran the ball there pretty good. But obviously it wasn't good enough at the end of the day.
Obviously, Anthony Richardson, a big piece of the pie. The low completion percentage at one point, just 2 of 14. Just 2 completions there in that first half. Checked himself out of the game as well. Here's AR on facing criticism.
Man, you got to take it, like a grain of salt. because people are gonna say it's my fault. I definitely could have played better today. I definitely could have delivered the ball better. Definitely could have made some better checks. I could have played better. So I definitely understand that. Even when we play well and we win the game, they're gonna say AR was the main reason we won. So you just got to be able to take both sides of it. The wins and the losses. So I'm just steady trying to grow and just keep being better.
Jonathan Taylor, DeForest Buckner, very good in their returns. I do think we should mention that. Again, Colts now upcoming Sunday Night Football with the Minnesota Vikings, a touchdown underdog in that one. All right, Pacers back in action tonight in Orlando. It's home to Boston Wednesday. An awful weekend for the Pacers. Ran off the floor to Madison Square Garden Friday night. Yesterday, get the schedule break. No Paul George, no Joel Embiid. Yet that game ends in a loss. Tyrese Maxey goes for 45. The Pacers can't get a rebound. Can't protect the basketball. Missed free throws. Critical in overtime as well. So it is a 1-2 start to the season. And now it's an Orlando team that kind of had the Pacers number last year.
They did.
And then Boston on Wednesday. So early season gut check moment here for Rick Carlisle's bunch.
Yeah, quickly, college football, congratulations to Notre Dame. How about that? Over Navy. Congratulations to Kirk Cignetti as they won, 31-17 over Washington on Saturday. Michigan State coming up for the Hoosiers. Who does Notre Dame have next
Bye week?
Oh, it's a bye week. Okay, well, good for you. You can hang out there. Good for Notre Dame having a bye week. And then Indiana basketball winners 66-62 at Tennessee randomly yesterday in the middle of the day. That was going on as well. Let's take a break. Coming up on the other end, we'll get to your calls plus our weekend headlines. We'll do it next here. It's a Monday on the Fan.
Well, get some weekly Colts headlines here coming up in a few minutes. I can't say I was totally surprised by it. Maybe the timing, Andy Sweeney, but it just seemed like, and apologies to us, we probably maybe should have asked Kelly Croscroft a little bit more specifically about Christy Sides when she joined us, about a week and a half ago. But sure enough, they fired Christy Sides yesterday. I tried to make the college football analogy to you earlier. It's the middling Big Ten program that's gotten to the Motor City Bowl and maybe an occasional, I don't know, Music City Bowl appearance, and now they're saying, no, we've got the 5-star recruit here. We want to get to New Year's Day bowls. We want to get to the playoff. Is that a decent analogy? The NFL wildcard team that wants more, is that a decent analogy or no?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the analogy I was thinking of was, what was it before? I mean, again, I'm equating Caitlin Clark to Michael Jordan here, so I want to be clear. It was Doug Collins who was the coach. Am I not mistaken? Or was
yes,
it?
No, that's correct.
It was Doug Collins, who I thought was a great
awesome.
Broadcaster. I mean, for sure. It was Doug Collins who was the coach of Michael Jordan's before they brought in Phil Jackson, or maybe, I don't know. I mean, they've always searched for LeBron to have a coach as well.
I compared it to the Cubs firing Rick Renteria to hire Joe Madden. They thought their championship window was open.
Boy, that's a good one.
So that's when they hired him.
Yeah, that's probably a good one. Surprise, KB, you didn't think of the Cubs example
on
this.
Get
Monday.
on my level. I mean,
Come on.
David Bell to Terry Francona, right?
There you go. David Bell out, in comes
Mike
Francona.
Bray to Micah Shrewsbury.
The only difference is, Christy Sides did get him to the postseason. I guess part of me, and I have listen, I don't really care. I got to be honest, I'm not too hot takey on this, but last year she was cratered with the worst team. I mean, just one of the worst teams in the WNBA. I mean, had no chance of winning. And this year, while they did draft Caitlin Clark, they had about 5 minutes before, from the end of her season to the training camp and the beginning of the WNBA season. I thought they did get better in August. She took a lot of heat in August. She won WNBA Coach of the Month. Now, the flip side is, if you get somebody that the new regime wants, if you get somebody who is a better coach than Christy Sides, I'm all for it. So I'm not emotionally attached. I think she got a little bit of a raw deal. But if they go and they hire this now former Connecticut Sun coach, Stephanie White, and they win, 11 more games next year, and in the second, third round, whatever it may be, of the playoffs, and the team looks better, and Caitlin Clark looks better, and everything else, we're not going to care too much about Sides losing her job. But I guess I do feel for it just a little bit.
Yeah, I think all of that is very, very true. Yeah, again, Stephanie White, if you look at some of these WNBA rumors, that seems to be a name. Again, Kelly Croscroft did hire her back in 2015 for her first head coaching gig, and both parties have always spoken very highly, even recently, of the other one here. So I guess there's a lot of tea leaves. Not 100% sure what her contract situation looks like or how that would have to play out. Again, Connecticut ousted Indiana in the playoffs here. Certainly you think Caitlin Clark would have some sort of say on this.
You would imagine.
But anytime a team dumps the GM, or changes over, I should say, the GM and the president, some things can happen. And certainly that has impacted Christy Sides here.
I guess the only other thing I would say is, again, I'm not too emotional nor hot takey on this. I don't believe a lot of fans listening to us right now are. But when you news dump something, you're doing it to where you hope it does not get attention. And that's what they portrayed in their timing at, what was it, 11:30, an
Pacers
hour
home opener.
Yeah, I mean, a Pacers home
Colts.
opener. Well, yeah, I mean, you just came off of what happened in Bloomington. IU had a game on Sunday. The Pacers had a game, and obviously the Colts, they take up all the air in the room whenever they play on a Sunday afternoon. So, you tell people what you want them to talk about by when you release something, and they did news dump it, and that's probably, unfortunately for Christy Sides, that's what I find most interesting, is why they did it when they did it, not that they did it.
Kelly Croscroft's quote yesterday in the release was, we want to be bold and, I think, assertive. Was that the right word? Or I think it was bold and assertive in the pursuit of a title. I mean, certainly this is that.
Yeah, well, sure.
In trying to swing even bigger for the fences. So we'll see how all of that plays out. All right, let's hit our morning headlines.
Extra, extra, read all about it. I can't read it. There's no words on it.
I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
Ripped from the headlines of the newspaper.
We'll do it live.
Post-game headlines.
Thing sucks.
I looked down and I saw Mark's favorite guy, Tony Footlong.
Oh, God. I love that handle.
We're going to lead off with Senor Footlong.
Tony Footlong says situational awareness. What's that?
Well, the other one he said, which I liked, was he said 10 for 32. Now that's rare air. Thank you, Jim.
Tony's a P1 listener. John, at least we have beer.
Oh, man. Ross, I had a lot of it this weekend.
Line bad, Richardson worse.
Josh says, that's one tired-looking offense. Delusional IU football fan says, early Christmas gift for Texans.
Ben says, running out of time. Noah, so far, zero growth shown.
I think Holly's comment here is one that's starting to say, hey, can we jump on Holly's train right here? Is the experiment finally over? From Holly. I think some people are...
No, it's not halfway through.
Well, the answer is no, but I think more people are starting to ask that.
Well, we had a texter. I think we bring this up tomorrow. There's so much game reaction on a Monday, and there's other things. I do think it is an interesting conversation of, sometimes guys are out there that other guys in the locker room are saying we would be better. Is it hurting the team to force one guy into maturing kind of on the job? I don't think they're there, but I don't think that's a throwaway conversation the way that Anthony's played and the offense in general's played the last couple weeks.
There's a topic I want to throw at you guys maybe later in the week or something, but of the 32 starting quarterbacks right now, if you did a quarterback draft, how far are we getting down the list before you pick Anthony Richardson over somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, you're
Levis. Yeah,
yeah.
If Levis plays again, he
Daniel
may not play
Jones,
again.
You're certainly
Andy Dalton / Bryce Young.
You're getting deep into the 20s.
Yeah,
deep into the 20s.
Yeah.
Rick, interception essentially ends Colts season. That's an aggressive statement to make on October 27th. But that interception broke me yesterday, if I could say that.
I agree.
As soon as that play happened, Maddie was like, "Wow, you are really audibly."
Yeah.
Saying some stuff
bothered by it. It's just a stupid play.
I'm just like, Matt's like literally 10-10 at half. You get the ball, start the third is a totally different feel. Because I had faith that Shane Steichen and that offense would regroup, and frankly, I thought they did. I thought they did play better in the second half, but still, 17-10 is just totally different. Last one I thought stood out to me from a headline standpoint, Tyler, the roller coaster has mechanical issues.
That's where I was going to go.
That was the one I was going to mention.
You're spot on. You're spot on with that.
To be fair to Tyler's roller coaster analogy, is this one, what's the one that just drops straight down?
Thrill Ride or what? The one at Cedar Point.
Yeah, what is that called?
Yeah, the ones that they take you up 200 feet and they drop you down.
Flight,
everyone's seen
one of those ones.
Sure, Top Flight or something.
Yeah, isn't that what the Richardson roller coaster's been? I don't even know if we've had much roller coaster moments.
Top Thrill too, yeah, and it was broken when I went there with the family over the summer.
It's always broken.
So, yeah.
That roller coaster is always broken.
It takes you straight up and straight down, and it's broken a lot. So that is a perfect analogy.
Guy says, anyone have Carson Wentz's cell phone number?
Oh, God, let's not go down that road again.
Dude, we never talked about it. Did you see 2 weeks ago they put him in the backfield next to Mahomes? Andy Reid, we get it. You've conquered the NFL. Leave us alone.
Was I imagining things or
Carson Wentz or Carson Steele?
Carson Wentz.
Did Wentz or did Mahomes get banged up a little bit yesterday?
Yeah, he did.
Did Wentz ever go in, or was this just in between series?
No, I didn't see him. No, I didn't see him go in.
Do we need to start looking at the Chiefs' schedule? Are we there yet?
No, boy, their margin for error isn't they're not winning games 44-17. If they were, the Patriots when they made the run at undefeated, I don't need to tell you guys, they were winning games that felt like they were just dominating teams. I mean, they have a 7-point game, a 1-point game, a 5-point game, a 7-point game. Now here's a 13 and a 10, 7-point game yesterday. I mean, they still have at Buffalo.
Bucks, Broncos, Bills are the next three opponents.
At Steelers, Broncos twice. Maybe the Broncos defense could get them once. I'm not sure Bo Nix
Browns
is good
with
enough.
Jameis, hopefully.
Boy, I mean, time out. You start looking at the schedule, boys. I mean, home to the Bucks, home to the Broncos. At Buffalo is going to be a tough game, certainly.
Yep.
But then at Carolina, home to the Raiders. I mean, they could get to December here.
Ugh.
I know. I know. Jealousy.
It's jealous. Listen, it's jealousy. The thing is, you feel like they're playing like they're not this well-oiled machine, right? Like they're not blowing teams out. They're not like overly dominant. Patrick Mahomes is not having one of his top 3, 4, 5 years in the league. They lost their running back. They had to go get Nuke Hopkins, and who knows how much tread he has left on the tires, and they just keep winning. They just keep winning. I thought Antonio Pierce in that game, mid-third quarter, he went for it on fourth down. It's like, dude, kick the field goal.
Yeah, the Raiders had some moments there.
Yeah, kick a field goal. Good stuff with the headlines. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show. Appreciate you hanging out with us on this Monday. Wake up call, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
I told you guys earlier I could not have been luckier. All of a sudden, we're sitting there watching Bluey last night. Rosie leaves the room. I'm like, enough of this Australian dog. I love Bluey, but come on now.
And it's always on.
And I had just gone downstairs, and the Bears had scored, what was it? They got the penalty on 4th and goal. Was that it, Mark?
Yeah, pass interference, yeah.
So I was like, oh, I wonder if that game is still on. And sure enough, I turn over right as Jaden Daniels has reached the top of his drop. And literally my first thought was like, man. And probably this is because I just watched the Colts not even get the ball off in their pass interference or their Hail Mary attempt. The first thought I had was, wow, Jaden Daniels doing a really nice job extending here. He's keeping the play alive. And then he ran forward, too. Like, he didn't throw it from, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And sure enough, the rest is history.
It's, I'm sorry to Mark.
It's okay.
I feel bad for him, but there's nothing we can do except help a brother out. Pat him on the back, lift him up this week.
Take a lozenge if you got it.
Yeah, that might help. You need some honey or something?
Down, right?
Yeah, don't tip it in the air.
Because we've seen it both ways. The Colts had the Hail Mary almost go against them earlier this season. Was that Pittsburgh? I'm trying to think, what game was that? Or was it Chicago?
Remember it was Chicago, wasn't it?
Chicago,
yeah, it was Chicago.
And Julian Blackmon and E.J. Speed combining the tackle.
Yeah, they stopped him.
Should you put offensive guys back there? I mean, seriously. Is there a thing now?
Listen, the Chiefs do. They put, Travis Kelce back there.
Right.
So if they do,
should the Colts put Mo Alley Cox back there?
I don't think it's stupid. I mean, defensive backs mess it up enough where, it's not like you couldn't put an offensive guy back there and figure it out. I mean, the only bugaboo would be if an offensive guy, if he made the mistake. But the Bears, I will say this, Mark, you're right. I forget the guy's name. Them on a goal line situation, trying to run an offensive lineman up the middle, and the offensive lineman
Doug Kramer.
That was epic.
Moronic. One of the worst plays why would you call that?
It's just, you don't have to outsmart yourself.
You just ruined that guy's career.
Well, you have two big running backs. I mean, Johnson is your tough running back, and Swift has been good the last, month? Yeah. Mark? I mean, DeAndre Swift's been pretty good the last month.
Worst case scenario, you run it with Caleb Williams up the middle.
Yeah,
how hard is that?
Or you run it with Caleb Williams. KB, anything else stand out to you this weekend? I mean, we thought, it's funny, and we've done this 9 times. You would think we would stop doing this. That, we were kind of brushed off this week's schedule in the NFL. And then at one point, I mean, there's 5 games coming down to the
1 o'clock window is nuts.
There's 5 games coming down to the final seconds, and the Colts were obviously one of them. But, I mean, you had Packers, Jags coming down to the end, Atlanta, Tampa Bay coming down to the end, the Patriots and Jets, the Cardinals back-to-back weeks. They kick a game-winning field goal. The Browns and Ravens. I mean, really everyone outside of Lions, Titans, Eagles, Bengals pretty much had a game where the finish was fantastic.
I think it's a safe space now that we've reached 2 hours and 49 minutes into the show.
Yeah.
But if you want to start to look at the AFC playoff standings,
don't do it, Kev.
I mean, there's 6 teams that are just toast. Again, there's only 16 in the conference. I mean, there are 16. Are we really going to believe in Jameis and the Browns?
Well, I mean, you could even
bite your tongue.
You could even say 7 if you think of Miami.
Right.
And I personally,
you could throw Miami in there.
Miami losing yesterday, I would throw I've seen enough of Mike McDaniels. That's just me.
Yeah.
I would have 7 teams, but if you wanted to say 5 or 6, that's fine.
You can't lose at home to the Cardinals. No. So if you want to go to 7, that would leave then 9 teams for 7 spots.
Yes.
One of those 9 is Cincinnati, a 3-5 team that is in the hardest division, certainly in the AFC. How much do you believe in the Bengals? And then if you want to cross Cincinnati off the list, that leaves 8 for 7. The Colts are one of those 8.
Without a doubt.
And the wild card teams right now are Denver at 5-3, who the Colts will see later in the season in Denver. Can Bo Nix keep this up? Baltimore's at 5-3. Even if Pittsburgh loses tonight, it'll either be Pittsburgh or Baltimore. Of course, the Colts want Pittsburgh to lose. You want Pittsburgh to be the wild card team out of that division. And then the Chargers at 4-3. So
I know.
It's just yesterday was such a crushing blow to your divisional hopes, but that 1 o'clock window, the Bengals losing, the Ravens losing, the Dolphins losing late, the Jets losing late, that did help you out in the wild card area. So again, I think the reaction deservedly for the first 2 hours, 2.5 hours plus of the show needs to be on other things. But yesterday was not a crippling playoff day for the Colts. It was a big, big loss. Not going to deny that. Divisional conference losses are not good either, but some other teams did lose.
So here's what I wondered. Okay, number one, you're right. Number two,
did I soften that enough?
Yeah, you did. I wonder if fans feel that way of, hey, guys, still a long season. We can play better football. Like, even after the offensive debacle that we saw yesterday, that there's still fans that are holding on to that hope. Is this the fact that the Colts are still in it, and they probably will be here for the next couple weeks, is that delaying the inevitable of hurting you in the end, or is that giving you zest and a reason to live for the next several weeks? That's the question, and I can't decide where I'm at because I don't think they're a playoff team, but I mean, I've seen enough of the Bengals and Dolphins and Raiders to know sure as hell they're not. And really, you know, I think there's five teams that are set. Chiefs, Texans, Bills, Steelers, and Ravens, I think will absolutely make the playoffs. And then, you know, it gets to your conversation, 3 teams for 1 spot. Does one of those teams out of the AFC West stay good enough the rest of the season? And I don't know the answer to that.
Well, one thing helping the Colts, too, is 2 of those 3 wildcard teams that we mentioned play in the same division, like
Right.
Chargers and Broncos. So, inevitably, I don't know. Have they already played this season? I haven't kept up to date with their schedules.
They have played. The Chargers won 23-16
So they'll play
3 weeks ago.
They'll play one more time, of course, and obviously that will be a loss for one of those teams. Again, you play Denver. That could be a huge game come mid-December, but still, right now it's probably hard to really kind of get to that point because, again, yesterday was – I mean, you've lost – I think what stings about 4-4 right now, Andy Sweeney, is this. You lost the 3 most important games.
I know.
Of the first 8.
I know.
At home to Houston, you just can't lose to Jacksonville.
No.
And then you lost the second game.
I mean,
to Houston.
Everybody's beating Jacksonville.
The 3
Just everybody.
biggest games, the 3 divisional games, obviously 2 against the best team in your division. And really, I think, and look, I didn't laugh at you and Corbin for picking the Colts. I thought late week, I mean, I told Rob Kendall, I go pick the Colts to cover. Like, it was a difficult decision for me because Houston was so banged up, and then they lose one of their best players during the game. But yet, at the end of the day, I looked at you guys and said,
nope.
Which quarterback do I trust more? And I think you saw Sunday why I went with Houston versus Indy.
Did you? What was your score? Was it 23-20?
I had 27-23.
Oh, 27-23.
Yeah. Close,
okay.
but,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It really was. Yeah, I mean, listen, I was going to say tonight's game. No, tonight's game's not interesting. Pittsburgh will win, so they'll move on, obviously, and get another win. But there's so many parts of yesterday that I just absolutely loved. I don't know if you saw just a couple things that we haven't talked about. Did you see the Seattle guys get in the fight on the sideline?
No.
Like, Seattle was broken yesterday. The Bills broke them. Seattle now has lost 4 out of their last 5 games. And the whole Geno Smith, let's give him a contract, that's worn off, and they stink. And so you had 2 players on defense from Seattle getting into a fight. That's number 1. And then number 2, I didn't see this until just a few minutes ago. Did you happen to see J.C. Horn of the Carolina Panthers come up to Sean Payton and yell at him for trying to, quote, run up the score?
Yeah, they went fake field goal, and what else did they do? Trick play?
They tried to trick play.
Is there blood there? Like, does Sean Payton hate Dave Canales?
Or the Carolina Panthers? In some sort of way.
I guess he used to be in their division.
Yeah, but I can't believe that's it.
Did he ask David Tepper for an interview and not get it?
I have no idea. Fired coaches make a lot of money in the NFL, so if you go be the Carolina coach, you get fired, you make a lot of money.
I mean, again, you were higher on Denver certainly than I was at the start of the year. I mean, Bo Nix throws for had 4 touchdowns yesterday. I don't know. Is there a little bit more there?
Well, their defense is really good, right? And their running game is pretty solid, and I think Bo Nix, and this goes back to the Anthony Richardson discussion.
Is just so blah.
It is you're seeing, this is what Bo Nix is giving is what the Colts need a little bit of from Anthony Richardson. They need one of those games where he goes out there and throws for 3 touchdowns. Like, they need that sort of game. I mean, yesterday, I know it's against Carolina, but it's 284 and 3 touchdowns. Like you need, I think that's what fans are waiting for Anthony. Like, give us one of those games so we can believe that our patience is going to mean something here in a few weeks or months.
And this will get in debate. I think we'll have the rest of the week, Andy. Look at how many games Bo Nix played in college.
Look
at how many games Jaden Daniels played in college. Look at even Caleb Williams. Like, That's where I still struggle to say, no, just bench him. He needs these reps. I mean, these guys had endless moments in college to live through all these experiences, and I just think they're better at handling it. Because yesterday I thought situational awareness failed Anthony Richardson as much as anything else.
Steichen, what time today? Is he in the afternoon today?
Well, yeah, 2:30 today,
okay.
And then Pacers and Magic tonight at 7.
Yeah, reminder tonight, again, on the Fan Colts Roundtable coming up at 5:30. Always a fun listen there. And then Pacers and in Orlando taking on the Magic coming up at 6:30. You miss any of our show? Check it out, Podcast Center, 1075thefan.com. Have a good afternoon right here on The Fan.